Hey everybody, how we doing tonight? Welcome in. Excited that you are here with us tonight because tonight's a very, very special evening for us. If you're new around here, my name is Wade, aka ProfNoctis. I teach at the University of Alabama and I use video games to teach all kinds of concepts, particularly theology, religious studies, and video games. Pretty much. So excited to be with you tonight. Tonight we've got a big stream for you on this Tuesday evening. We are going to get to the Shinra archaeology mod, the Shinra arc cut, as they call it. Can't wait to get into that a little bit later on. Then we're probably going to be hitting a little bit of remake if we have time. But the biggest thing of the night, is this. We are going to be doing a Final Fantasy VII community essay showcase where I prompted you with an essay prompt just like I do in my classes, and you responded. You responded big time. So just a quick thing, really quick. Let me show you the essay that many of you responded to. Wouldn't that be great? Let's bounce right over here. Oh, that's one of the ones that we're going to be discussing a little bit later. Here it is, right here. Bam! This was it. Essay prompt is Avalanche, Terrorism, or Resistance. So, about a month ago, or excuse me, 3 weeks ago, I brought this up, and y'all, I've just been amazed that the community showed up. Who knew that we just wanted to talk in long form about Final Fantasy VII? I've seen the Twitter threads. I know that we are a verbose community, but tonight we're going to get to show that off a little bit. I am so excited, you guys. It's going to be a great night. It's so great, in fact, that I am not alone. Tonight, we are accompanied by Whiskers, aka Evan. What's up, Evan? You are live.
What's up, everybody?
Oh my gosh, check him out.
See you. I'm here in the box of academia. Prof locked me in the box with all the essays for 24 hours.
Yep.
Said you can't come out, so you've memorized them all. So I'm very appreciative of the work that has been done on these, and so excited to be back and able to chat with everybody as we kick off the new year.
Oh man, Evan, I'm so glad that you're here with me tonight because this is going to be so much more fun because we're doing peer review of all of these essays, and it's just much more fun that way. Evan is very quiet. Let me see what I can do about that. Evan, why don't you do a quick sound check for our friends here?
Ooh, I'll preview my sound check for everybody. Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and this is typically how I talk. But sometimes, if I get really excited, I'll talk like this. But occasionally, in certain moments, rarely, I'll talk like this. And scene. Okay,
so that sounded pretty good on my end, and I'm getting good readings from you. But everybody else, how was that for you? Were you able to hear Evan a little bit more? Don't go bury yourself. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. Okay, he's sounding better. Okay, good. Thank you, everybody, for your help. It takes a village, doesn't it? Hey, got some new people in the chat. Just want to say welcome. For some of you, this is your first time in the chat, and I'm so glad. One of you found us because of the Tifa content on Twitter. Yeah, the last 48 hours has been crazy because I've been talking about Tifa a lot on that. And I actually showed a bunch of clips from my Jewish mysticism video essay, and people finally found it and it started to pop off. So, so there's that. Hey mods, I don't know if you can do this for the essay portion, just so that I'm a little bit more focused. Let's turn off channel rewards. As much as I would love to just be doing squats while grading essays, I think that would actually like mismanage our time. So
you come on. You're good for it. You're below me, so I have to look down. Should I like peek over?
No, so you're above me. So I guess when I'm wanting to talk to you, I'll Brady Bunch it and I'll go like this.
All right.
Yep.
I'm
And then when
looking
we're
down.
reading essays, we can just like turn.
The essays, what term?
They're going to be on your others.
others.
That way.
This
Yeah,
way?
that's it. So
Oh man, this is tough because the essays are on this side of me actually. So to pretend like I'm looking at the essays, I have to look the opposite
Exactly.
direction.
Okay, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and dive in the interest of time. We want to be good stewards of our time. So I'm going to soften the music. Thank you to Sing40 Laughter for the beautiful lo-fi tunes.
Thank you.
Go subscribe to them. And we're going to dive into it. So let's go ahead and begin with our essays. You know, the main prompt is this. We played through chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Final Fantasy VII Remake, as well as the opening to the Shinra archaeology cut. And if you are remembering, it is the bombing mission leading into 7th Heaven. And there's a lot of opinions on this. But one of the things that we talked about in the stream was, is this justified or not? Is this an act of terrorism? And if it is it justified? Is terrorism ever justified? I mean, these are really interesting conversations and questions that the game is inviting us to. I want you to know this isn't me saying, oh, let me shoehorn my thing into this game. We're trying to extract from the game. If you were in my Final Fantasy 16 streams, if you were in those streams, we talked about the difference between the mythos and the logos, right? And the mythos is the stories that we tell, and the logos is what we know for sure. So what do we know for sure, and how do we know it? And so what I've asked you to do is, what do we know for sure from the bombing mission? And that's kind of it. So without further ado, why don't we get into some of these essays? Evan, are you ready?
I am so ready, or as Macho Man Randy Savage would say, thanks for having me.
What a letdown. What a letdown. I was really expecting you snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh yeah, the cream rises.
The cream of the crop. Do you remember early on
these essays, Wade?
these essays? Do you remember early on, I mean years ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I played through Final Fantasy VII voice acting mod? Were you there for that one? Sunamods came out with a voice mod where actors would play out the original game, right? And we got to the gym scene in Wall Market, and Macho Man Randy Savage was one of the voices in there. And so you've got this guy in a leotard doing these squats. He was like, oh yeah, feel the burn, Cloud.
You gotta get pumped.
Gotta get thumped.
Squats are good for your whole body. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody in the chat, while we are checking out some of these essays, just so you know, we are not going to read the essays in their entirety, but we've collected some excerpts. We are going to have the essays over on the right side of the screen for you, so you're going to be able to read those as best as you can, given the compression rate and all of that. But I'm going to be highlighting a few pieces of this, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So, hey, what's up, Climber? Welcome in. Ooh, yeah. With that, why don't we begin? Let me just go ahead and tell you the goal for tonight. The goal is not to come up with a right or a wrong answer. That's really, really key. Instead, the goal is to establish this as what we might call a shared ethical inquiry. This is not a debate night, but we are curious rather than certain. We value curiosity over certainty on this stream, and so we ask the questions. And sometimes those questions, we don't mean them to be offensive to anybody, but it's just in the pursuit of how do we make sense of this? That sort of thing. So tonight we're going to do something that I genuinely love. We're taking a video game moment and treating it like an ethical case study. This is what I do in my classes. Our question is simple, but it's a heavy one. Is Avalanche's bombing mission morally justified, or is it an act of terrorism? So you won't have the essays entirely in front of you, so I'm going to read a few key lines, and as I go, I'm going to summarize just enough so that you can hear their argument. As we go, though, chat, I want you to be active in this, and I want you to listen for this. As we go, I want you to listen for 3 things. Number one, what moral rule matters the most? Is there a moral rule or philosophy that you're getting from the author of this? Number two, what counts as terrorism? And number three, maybe the most pertinent, is what alternatives exist? We're going to talk about some of the collateral damage of the bombing mission tonight. So I think the first thing that you may want to discuss is when you hear the word terrorism, what definition comes to mind first? Intent, target, or method? With that, why don't we begin with a little bit of some definitions. I'm going to open up our essays, and we're going to start out with, from somebody in the chat, Ocean. Ocean, shout out to Ocean. Thank you for contributing. You'll see on here, everybody, that I have taken some liberties of putting a key phrase at the top, and I've just found that to be incredibly helpful for my own kind of memory, because I read 14 essays, you guys. 14 of you talked about this. So crazy stuff. So let's go ahead and dive in. In this particular essay, there was one line that absolutely struck me. Ocean over on YouTube, welcome in. This is a fantastic essay, and thank you so much for sharing it. I want to actually begin with the very end of this, of your essay, Ocean. Here's what Ocean said. While I can see the why behind Avalanche's methods, I cannot morally justify them, as I believe actions in and of themselves must be just. Drawing from my faith as a Muslim, we are taught to respond to oppression never with indiscriminate vengeance, but with patience and ethical restraint, seeking justice through means that don't mirror the oppressor's cruelty, and ultimately entrusting matters to divine providence. That's a heavy thing, Evan.
It really is. It really is. One of the things that I really like about wrapping with that conclusion is the restating of the lens very clearly. As a this is my lens. So here's the value system from my past and my choices that I am choosing to view this in. And so I'm going to be upfront with that and not try and say that it is a universal imperative, but based on this context and the lens that I approach it and the experiences that I have in life, this seems to be where I land. And so that structure, I think, approaches it with honesty, but a lot of charity as well.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, I loved the whole essay, but that line reframed it to the point that I had to go back and reread it and be like, okay, that was like the exclamation point, and like that's the A+ sort of thing. Just really, really, really loved it. So I was also taken by a few other things in this particular essay. Says the essay prompt at hand presupposes terrorism as inherently unjustifiable. However, history and contemporary politics make evident the asymmetric application of the label terrorist, which is often subject to power imbalance and varying perspective. Avalanche likely considers themselves a resistance faction combating genocide and corporate villainy. Nonetheless, the bombing does meet the definition as laid out by the FBI: violent, criminal acts committed to further ideological goals. While Avalanche would argue for its justification, I believe that it was morally reprehensible. Man, the definitions matter to me, and I'm so grateful that this was included in here.
Yeah, this is a great essay to start at the beginning with too, because they do some of the work to define some of the common terms and even evaluate the dynamics that go into the label itself, recognizing that there is a group in power that has the ability to cast the label in each circumstance. If you got three friends together and decided you were going to come up with your own definition, you would have the authority within that space. But when it comes to governments and organizations, they are typically the ones who will take action and enforcement against these things. So there is an inherent power dynamic based on who who it is that is determining the label and the subjectivity of whether they would view it as a beneficial cause or a detracting cause from, I would say, the common good at this point, to be more general.
From the common good. And again, that really does kind of go into this is the final piece that I'll kind of put out here. With the author's permissions, and we're going to seek that out, we're going to try to give access to these essays on the website following this. So we'll have different chapters and archives over on our website. And certainly in the Discord, if you want to talk about any of the essays, you can do that as well. But one final thing that I just wanted to mention here is Ocean says, on one end of the spectrum, we have Barrett, who represents Avalanche's consequentialist approach. In his remake speech post-bombing, he states that nothing worth fighting for was ever won without sacrifice. So to Avalanche, the ends will justify the means, and in their ideological framework, driven by planetology, they view themselves as the good guys. And then kind of goes into Tifa's oppositional take to that. I just think that's so well said, and it's rooted in some of the game dialogue. So very well done there, Ocean. Any closing thoughts there, Evan, on any of this?
Well, I think referencing the tension that's present within the party as representative to these different lenses, and recognizing that the game and the story invites us into that narrative by allowing us to experience the characters, sometimes even making decisions in the way that a character will respond, not necessarily in the content of their response as much as it is the tone, the delivery, and some of the implications for the story and their relationships. I think it's a great framing to set us up for looking at the rest of the essays too. So well done, Ocean.
For real, for real. Now, to kind of take us to the next essay, I kind of want to ask this question to you, chat. Ocean made a great statement based on definitions. So if an act clearly meets a definition, do you think that that settles the moral question, or does morality kind of live somewhere else? Do we have to keep on digging for that? Because it could be an open and closed shut case, but I would be curious about your thoughts on that. Which kind of brings us to our second essay of the night. This one comes from Katherine. Katherine DeCourt. I'm going to summarize this essay by simply saying no easy answers, but technically terrorism. Which, if there wasn't a title, I kind of gave it a title to help me remember.
Technically terrorism.
Technically terrorism, which I thought was kind of funny.
Very clever. Very clever.
Very clever. Thank you. So Katherine is our definition first thinker in a lot of ways. She says that bombing checks the terrorism boxes, but then asks what happens when peaceful options don't really exist. I'm going to open with the very, very first lines here. When looking at the after effects of the Avalanche bombing mission, I think it's pretty obvious that it is terrorism. Even if Avalanche didn't intend for the amount of damage that occurred, no thanks to Shinra making it worse, and that's certainly a remake added piece, it does meet the definition used by the International Center for Counterterrorism. Well done with the citation here. Where we have a violent act committed outside of armed conflict for an ideological purpose intended to create extreme fear to compel a government to do or abstain from a particular act. In this case, to dissuade Shinra from using Mako energy. But I'd argue, despite this, it's justified due to the lack of other options. And that kind of sets this essay on a course. I just really, really appreciate that. What do you make of that first opening paragraph, Evan?
Yeah, I think it certainly is clear that based on what's happening, we're not going to explore if it is or isn't terrorism. Open shut case in this case, right from the beginning. Here's the definition of terrorism. This is where this lands. However, we get into some of the justification and the necessity, potentially, of this kind of behavior given the trajectory and power dynamics present in the universe and in this story. So I'm interested to see where we go next.
This line took me completely, just like it almost took my breath away. And it comes a little bit later. Let me see if I can pull it down here. Where are we? Right here, where it starts with therefore. It says, when peaceful options are either ineffective or unavailable, what else can be done? A riot is the language of the unheard, after all, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. often said. 2, thus the turn to violence is nigh inevitable at that point. If a populace is treated horribly for long enough, they'll fight back to change that. A tragedy that could be averted if the people at the top would surrender any power. Dang. So it is like, yes, it does meet the definition criteria. However, what other option is there? And I think that the use of King's quotations there is really, really meaningful. Okay, Evan, any other kind of thoughts there as we get going?
Yeah, it opens the door, and I think that's the challenge with the word limit, right? Is we're going to open some doors in essays that we don't have the ability to close in a short form essay, but it creates this third party space for us to talk about it. It opens the door to what recourse do they have? What are the representative structures for how the common man would be able to have their needs or wants or desires or rights met? Now, obviously, most of this game at the beginning takes place in the slums. They literally built a giant plate to blot out the sky over where these folks live. So whatever their right to liberty and agency individually, and whatever the responsibility ultimately to the planet is, and the, I would say, codependent relationship, or really the kind of congruent or parallel relationship between the health of the planet and the thriving of society. Because if the planet fails, society can't thrive because society doesn't exist, and it puts itself into chaos, right? So I think it introduces those really challenging dynamics of, would it still be morally justifiable if they had a representative democracy, and instead of following through with their elected officials and working through the existing channels, instead of this kind of more corptocracy that exists within this universe, would you then say that would change the environment and the justification? Yeah, I think it sparks some curiosities as we kind of put on that lens, but I think this is a meaningful contribution to the conversation.
Oh man, I think so too. I'm excited for everybody to read this full essay when we post it up, but this is just really the way that this essay ends as well. It brings in some doubt as to the resulting collateral damage. This is a question not really addressed properly by Avalanche themselves within the game. While yes, Shinra increases the damage as a means of heaping further harm and blame on Avalanche than intended, the Mako reactors designated for destruction still provide power to the populace. And so there is a collateral damage that's not just loss of life, but loss of quality of life to a degree. And that's something that we're going to see in some of these future essays as well. So big props to Katherine. Thank you so much
Katherine.
for
Thanks
this.
for
Very
submitting
well
it.
done. Thanks for submitting. Just absolutely terrific. Okay, so let's kind of move to the next one. This kind of brings us to the real first fork in the road. Do the ends justify the means? Oh, man. With this, we head to our next essay, which comes from our friend Wesley. Wesley, who kind of goes into one of my favorite lines in this particular one. Comes right here. It says, while making for a memorable opening to Final Fantasy VII and an engaging gameplay sequence, the party's attack is a case of fighting Faraga with Faraga. I like that. That's a good use. I think. But ultimately, this essay says that it's not morally justified, but what was the alternative? If the ends don't justify the means, what would be the case? What would be better means to justify it? And I think that's a really powerful sort of thing. A couple of pieces that I want to draw out here. Similar to the previous essay, we have a lot of citations in this one. Wesley mentions here, he summons some Kant Kant formulates rationally as the categorical imperative to treat human beings as ends in themselves, never as the means to an end. And it can be set right alongside the believer's faith in the value of human life, seeing all people as images of God, as taught by Judeo-Christian scriptural tradition. That's a pretty loaded statement. If the ends result in a diminishing or exalting of the value of human life, that's key. We can't set that sort of thing aside. So what is the value of human life according to these means? So that's a pretty intense one. He goes on to say, I'm going to just kind of read several pieces here. This is a view shared by the prophets and developed more recently by leaders such as Tolstoy, Gandhi, and King in their writings, and the nonviolent movements for freedom and rights they helped spark have carried religious values through, despite politicized deformations, into still vital contact with contemporary life and thought. Wow. Looking closely at great art, including video games, I hope we can spark the same realization of the abiding power of mythic truths alongside rational arguments. It is only by being, quote, an extremist for love, as King writes in a letter from a Birmingham jail, that the power of hate, greed, and fear motivating oppressors and terrorists alike can be overcome. What do you think of that? That's a really interesting statement from King to put into Final Fantasy VII.
I wish that we had more time.
Right? Isn't that the truth?
That we had. Yeah, I think this well illustrates some of the natural tension, especially it references present in like Judeo-Christian theological thought. This idea of sacred worth. That humanity has soul, and that soul inherently has sacred worth. And so to what extent then, if we've defined and we believe that everybody has sacred worth in this context, how do you measure and judge the actions, behaviors of two groups or systems? So on one hand, you have a group that is being oppressed economically. You have a group that is being oppressed for opportunity. Power and control doesn't seem to be symmetrical. There's some serious power imbalances that are present in Sector 7 at this point. Yeah. And then at the same time, you have people who are going to have to cause harm to, in their mind, change the system. So the question is this: if you knew for a fact that the bombing of the reactor was going to create eventually a better society that is more equitable in the context as Avalanche would hope, and save the planet, and if you were guaranteed that that was going to happen by them taking that action, how would it impact your view of it being justifiable? Because you would argue they create the space potentially for more flourishing over time and more agency and liberty to be restored to the individuals in the community. However, they would say, oh, that outweighs the oppression that's happening here, but that isn't guaranteed in this situation. It's a spark that's trying to ignite a Faraga, if you will, that then they can go with. So it kind of puts us in a mind to think about the person first and what that looks like in the rights of the individual as relative to how we act in groups in society.
Boy, ain't that the truth? I mean, that's such a challenging thing. Avalanche could have chosen to rely on a lot of different things, but the question at play that I think Wesley has done such a great job of bringing to the forefront is, does the value of human life supersede or kind of eliminate any sort of moral obligation to find a better future? It reminds me of scenes where it might be like sacrifices must be made, right? And it's kind of this tossing aside of human life for the purpose of a greater good to come as a result of it.
And we're going to get into some trolley problem a little bit later with some other essays, but this is probably our first introduction to the train station.
Yeah, man.
If we have the ability to choose one path over another, if we do have that agency, how do we navigate that ethical dilemma?
One thing that I'll say about Wesley's essay that everybody needs to go to the website tomorrow and check it out is he talks about the original ending of the original game and how that may he mentions the city of Midgar in ruins and the planet is at peace, but there's no sign of human life. Now, we can go to the Ultimanias and all that kind of stuff, but I do think it's a really interesting sort of thing. Like, if you expend human life, is the solution the elimination of human life? I mean, I don't know. It's
a bit of a race. If they truly believe that they're killing the planet, which is going to kill everyone anyways, then what choice might they have if that is true? Now, the question is that true? Or not? Is that like, is the planet going to explode tomorrow? If you knew that we had a doomsday clock or something like that. But it's more nuanced as it is in life and unfortunately the way that we experience it in human society.
Totally. So that's a big old blaring moral line. Well, our next essay is going to draw a similar line, but in a much starker voice. In fact, you see my subtitle for it is Only Hell. So, I mean, heck of an opener there. When the innocent are slain at the hands of the righteous, there is no heaven to be had, only hell. That is the italicized quote that Joachim begins with. And I mean, you want to talk about stopping me dead in my tracks. I was like, oh man, let me buckle up for this one really quick. How does that opening line strike you, Evan?
Sorry, I was reading a question in the chat.
No, you're good. When the innocent are slain at the hands of the righteous, there is no heaven to be had, only hell.
Well, it certainly captures the emotion of what that feels like.
Doesn't it? My goodness.
Right. And so what do we do with that statement? I think we've set a tone here for the beginning that kind of gives us a little bit of a lens to look at the rest of the essay. So I think really striking, captivating opening here to frame what we're going to go to next.
You know, one of the lines further on down says, in the original, an NPC comments, a lot of innocent people got killed too. If the explosion had been in the middle of the night, that would have been one thing. At least the people could have gone in their sleep. This NPC's dialogue further accentuates that not only did innocent people die, they suffered more because it wasn't done at night. The explosion causes blackouts. While I'm not sure what the case is in a world like FF7's where magic exists, but in our world, blackouts can impact hospitals and may cause people to die that rely on treatment. There is then the property damage incurred in the surrounding areas. If said action was morally justified, so many innocent people would not have suffered. That is a crazy, good analysis. My goodness. That's powerful stuff because it's like, there's collateral damage that isn't just human life, but it's quality of life that ends up impacting human life. And that's like, it's bigger than you thought in this. So I don't know. That's a pretty stark sort of thing, I think.
Well, it creates this subgroup of ethical terrorism, right?
Right?
So what is a more ethical terroristic act and what is a less ethical terroristic act? So bombing at night, if all things were equal and they chose to do it at night versus doing it during the day, then you would say they have ethical decisions to make within the framework of their attack, whether you would say it's terrorism or not, which is a fascinating subgrouping of some of this discussion.
It's just such a potent sort of idea because I had not thought about it. Like I was thinking, even in our remake stream last week, I was like, okay, well, it doesn't appear there was anybody aside from the legions and legions of soldiers that we were slashing through in the reactor. Aside from that, there weren't a lot of civilian casualties. But then you kind of get into, okay, well, what does the Mako reactor power? And how is that impacting others? And I think that that's something that Remake kind of does pretty well when you're walking through the streets and you're seeing the car crashes and the firefighters and all of this. It's just an interesting thing that I'd never really thought about in the FF7 world.
I thought it was a good use of space in the game itself. If you're going to spend more time in this specific section, give me something new. Let me experience it in a new way. And I think that having done that, we get some of the evidence that exists here that's substantiated in this essay.
Yeah. Joaquim also says that the remake does color the story a bit differently. Shinra is the culprit behind the bomb's devastating damage, but not purely Avalanche. Jesse designs it to be surgical and limit impact on the innocents, but they were, so to speak, playing with fire. And that is kind of the key here. There's always the risk of civilian harm, which was then exploited. And so it's kind of that question of like, if they had never done it, that collateral damage, even though it was caused by Shinra, is on them because they were the catalyst that then the dominoes kind of affected. So, I mean, I can see kind of both sides of that. But again, as some others have said, something had to be done. Wow.
Yeah. Well, at what point do you draw fault, right?
Right.
Man. So the explosion is Avalanche's fault. We'll work our way backwards here within this framework. The explosion is Avalanche's fault because they actually did the act, right?
Yeah.
They set the bomb and they did those things. But then, depending on your view, if you broaden it out, you would say, well, they wouldn't have done it if Shinra hadn't created this oppressive system and wasn't destroying the planet. So it's actually Shinra's fault that they had to do this, and then they had to do this. So at what point is somebody making a conscious choice here? And how far back are you going to go to justify the right way to move forward to achieve your means? Because was this the only way for them to achieve their means? That's what we're looking at.
That's exactly what we're looking at. And I think that that's part of where we pivot a little bit in some of these essays. I want to give a huge shout out to Joaquim. Just a great essay. Thank you so much for this. All of the essays have been just terrific. I am amazed at the thought that you're all putting into this. In the interest of time, I do want to keep going a little bit. We're going to move on with kind of this question. There is, let's see, we've kind of already talked about some of this stuff. If you light the fuse, are you responsible for the blast, even if someone else makes it worse? Well, Jack Smith has some things to say about that in our next essay. I appreciate this essay a great deal. You can kind of read it. I think that it's all on the screen right there. Let's look at this right here. Are the reactor bombings morally justified? I don't believe so. I like that we get straight to the point here. There were just too many people, innocent people, getting caught in the crossfire for that to be justified. All the private infrastructure was damaged, like homes and businesses, and that's what makes it a clear case for terrorism. The other thing, and I didn't really even think about this, they only ended up bombing 2 reactors, and I counted 10 in the world that continued to operate. And so it's kind of like, it reminded me, Evan, of, did you ever hear the old starfish on the beach story? Of like...
Made a difference to that one.
If you've not heard this one, Evan, can you tell the starfish story to the chat?
I'll do it in super speed run. You ready?
Please do, yeah.
Listening ears on, everybody. There was a man walking on the beach, and as he was walking on the beach, he saw a young boy who was standing on the beach throwing things into the ocean. Curious, the man walked up to the young boy and asked, "What are you doing?" The young boy picks up a starfish and throws it into the ocean, and the man realizes he's attempting to save each starfish, as the starfish would watch up on the beach, and they would be dried out, and they would die. And the boy picks up a starfish, and he throws it in, and he picks up another starfish, and he throws it in, and the man begins to wonder if the boy has truly lost his mind, and he begins to be curious, and he asks the boy, "What difference can you make? There's so many of them." And the boy slowly bends down, rubs his hands in the sand, picks up a starfish, holds it in front of himself, and the man looks at it, throws it deeply into the ocean, and says, "Made a difference to that one."
Made a difference to that one. I mean, that's well done, Evan, for the retelling in speedrunning the starfish story. And that's kind of it. Like, you can look at the myriad reactors throughout the world and you can say, well, it made a difference in this situation, made a difference in this. But Jack Smith kind of cuts that one off a little bit with the very next phrase when he says, "They could have bombed North Karel or Nibelheim instead, where there weren't any civilians around, and achieved the same effect. But because they picked Midgar as the location, innocent people were injured and killed, and ultimately, Avalanche members are accountable for criminal behavior as a result and have to face their victims and their families when all the dust settles." That's a terrific point. Mm-hmm. Right? If this is a statement sort of thing, why do it where there would be? Why not do it where there would be less casualties and less incident, right? I think that's a really fair point, Jack. So thank you for that. That's great. Okay.
I think.
What do you think of that? Yeah.
Well, I think we're diving into the strategy and ethical framework again of Avalanche themselves. You would say the competing ideologies could be, let's assume that it is just as easy and just as much work and the exact same plan will work. They can just do it on either location. So for the sake of argument, we have to establish that framework. I would argue from Avalanche's perspective, they would question internally, not having been privy to this conversation, so this is conjecture. They would say, does that have enough impact? Does it make a big enough statement? If we're going to do this and we're going to actually destroy something and we're only going to get one chance to probably destroy this, then we may be caught or killed. Does it need to make a big enough impact and statement and have a lasting thing? Because, for example, Midgard, that's like the seat of power, right?
Yeah.
So there's some symbolism there, I think, when it comes to Midgard itself compared to some of these outlying towns that have honestly already been subject to disaster as well. So there's another line of inquiry for me that is, look at what they did in Nibelheim. It was just this, it was that, they can put more spin on it. But if you blow it up in the middle of Midgard, it's really hard to put some spin on it compared to what people haven't seen with their own eyes and ears. So knowing the media apparatus that surrounds Shinra, in addition to everything, I wonder what that would have an impact on as far as if they think it's worth it.
That's such a great point. I mean, I can think of if a factory was taken down in Wetumpka, Alabama, does it have the same impact as like DC? Yeah, Wetumpka. We're very Native American coded, all of us. So I think that's a really important point. I think it's kind of like when in chapter 5 or 6 or 7, oh gosh, for Remake, when Barrett looks at the camera and says, if you're going to put a camera in front of me, I'm going to drop some truth. It's like, we've gotten impact and influence. Now I'm going to drop like the message. So I don't know.
What's the responsibility of the platform? And then when you create, and then they just decide to create the platform because their voices are oppressed in their minds and in some of our essayist minds. So there really is no way out other than that. That is the most efficient use of their resources and time, some would argue, for them to have the greatest impact. And it ends up being explosive in more ways than one.
Well, and it kind of prompts the question, does the existence of a less harmful alternative automatically condemn the choice that was made, or does it, is it kind of what we're talking about? Like, you've got to make a bigger splash, so to speak. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that we're going to be drifting into this a little bit more. So I think the concept of the just war theory is one that becomes interesting here, especially when we talk about religious frameworks, which is kind of a Christian framework of when it is right and an imperative to use force or violence and in what context.
Oh, man,
but I know that we're headed there soon, but just whet the appetite a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to our next essay. This one comes from Fastest the One. I liked this essay a lot, and this was the title that I gave it: "Taking Action Now Before Worse Days Arrive." I have to stress, these are not the titles that the authors wrote. These are just to remind me of what was said in the article or the essays. So here's what Fastest the One says. Thank you again for this. Also, huge thank you to Jack Smith for the previous essay. Thank you very much for that. Fastest the One. I believe that the bombing of the Mako reactors is justified. I love when we state the thesis right off the bat. I love it. It leaves me, your professor, not wondering, and I love that. Fastest says, if left alone, the reactors will eventually drain the planet of its Mako, killing everything that lives and will live upon it. While it might take years for the Mako to be entirely drained, the innocent lives that would have been spared by not carrying out the bombings would instead succumb to the death of the planet itself. Ideally, no one would be harmed in these attempts to save the planet. However, with the lives of everything and everyone at stake, damages from the bombings would be small in comparison to the destruction the reactors would bring. Now that's a pretty big thing. It's kind of like the mass collateral damage or this very specific collateral damage, right? So it's like, just from a numbers thing, it's like, we're going to lose people. Let's lose fewer sooner. That's a tough call to make, but it is an ethical framework for sure.
Yeah. To what extent does long-term damage? Where do we expand the lens and where do we shrink the lens? You know, if we look at a microscopic level in two people fighting on the street, right?
Yeah.
If you walk up and two people are already fighting, you don't know necessarily who, why. You have to make quick judgments. But if you watch the whole time and you see one person sucker punch somebody else, right, that creates a narrative within that framework. But then you don't know, okay, maybe you zoom out even further in the timeline and that person stole something from that person, was running away. So the person who sucker punched them, was that right? So at what point do we expand the narrative all the way into the long term? So if we take that analogy and we compare it to this, knowing that in the long term they're going to kill the planet, therefore kill everyone, so somebody has to do something, would certainly impact our belief. But you have people who don't believe that it's killing the planet, right?
Yeah.
So it's you can't get to this universal moral imperative here.
Isn't that
the essays?
Isn't that the truth? And I mean, like, just draw out from a meta narrative for a second. If there was social media to the extent that we have it in Midgar, you can imagine the takes on this. Like the people in the slums, the people up on top of the plate, all of this being like, well, this is justified or this isn't, all that back and forth. I think it's really, really wild to think about. A couple of other things with this particular essay. Trying to convince, let me go down here. Where is it? Nope. Let's see. Would bring, there it is. Trying to convince Shinra and the rest of the population, for that matter, to shut down the reactors would be an exhausting uphill battle. Like with many real-world businesses, Shinra's more interested with lining their pockets with money than dealing with the long-term consequences of their decisions. As seen when they decided to drop the Sector 7 plate, President Shinra and most of his execs have little regard for the lives of others, as they were willing to kill thousands just to destroy one tiny resistance group and to further their own propaganda. Man, this is a really fascinating one because it kind of takes a page from The Art of War. Any act of aggression is going to be met with an equal or greater act of aggression. So if you know that the one you were up against would pull the trigger and drop the plate, you have to in some ways fight that with that, you know? I can kind of see that line of thinking. You certainly see that in the Avalanche discussions. God, that's a tough one.
Well, I mean, I think we see this probably in our everyday lives too, when it comes to escalatory rhetoric and tone in conversations in the world that we live in today. And I don't think we're not going to get into any of that, but I think it does give us a reason, using this game as a framework, to pause and say, in interactions and my thoughts and where I'm headed, what is my responsibility towards escalatory rhetoric? Is it something I need to be aware of? Is it something that I need to manage? If I am thinking about things thoughtfully in this way and that I would write an essay, what is the actual application in my life, in the interactions with my friends, family, coworkers? What am I doing to either raise the tone of the conversation or set a different tone in the conversation?
Oh, man.
And what's great about these essays.
Say that last part again, man. That was so good. Say it. What am I doing to raise
in my individual life and the interactions that I'm having? What am I doing on the internet and in conversations with friends, family, coworkers? What am I doing to raise the tone and escalate situations? And what am I doing to understand where I think things should be and then set a different tone and lower the temperature? What does that look like? And society is really just the sum of, my soapbox here, the sum of what you did today and what you're going to do tomorrow. And when you put all that together in a scatter plot, that's where we're headed next.
That's
so
gold,
it takes
Evan.
enough of somebody to do enough of some things for society to actually move. Now, there's people who have greater influence within that, and that's an oversimplification, but it's a fascinating way to take something like this and look in the mirror and ask, okay, now what about me? What about my decisions? What about my actions? Without having to talk explicitly about any single issue.
That's it. I wish we could just read all of these essays word for word. I can't. Thank you, Fastest the One. Powerful stuff. I will close Fastest essay with their closing line. With such little time left, perhaps even only a few remaining years, it is better to take action now than to hope some Shinra exec will listen and hit the off switch some unknown time in the future. Great summation. Powerful exclamation
fair
point.
point to end on. Yeah, absolutely.
It really is. It really is. Love that so much. So this urgency convinces some, but not all. Now, the next essay that we're going to check out agrees with the stakes, but refuses to ignore the cost. This one comes from Danielle. Danielle, I titled this "Justice Because What Shinra Was Doing Is Worse." My title, not Danielle's. Is Avalanche's bombing mission morally justified or an act of terrorism? I consider Avalanche's actions to be just because as we go through the game, we see how Shinra's actions negatively affect both the planet and the people of Midgar, especially those who live in the slums, which is why I can understand why Barrett's cell did what they did, even if it meant being exiled from the rest of Avalanche. We don't know what methods Avalanche used to fight against Shinra before the events of the game. We can assume that over time, it got to the point where violence was necessary. I think that that's a really key point. What escalated this conflict? Man, that's wild stuff, I think.
I think this is a great time to mention our interview that we did with Joshua Horn, who is
yes.
professor who teaches philosophy and ethics, and we did an interview with him around The Last of Us. He wrote a book that is a collection of essays from experts around different ethical and philosophical challenges that exist in the story of The Last of Us. And he talked to us about utilitarian ethics, which we've talked about here. He talked about deontology, which is like moral absolutes regardless of consequences. There's all these different frameworks. So if you are interested in these kinds of things and you want another game and video to have more context on, this one really made me think of the way that Joshua Horn described a lot of things to us, and I think that he would be really proud of how succinctly and clearly this essay makes its statements.
I love that. Danielle does a great job here of explaining something that could be easily passed by. Barrett's group was exiled from the rest of Avalanche because of different methodology. And you can see that Barrett is amped up. He wants to do something, even if it's the wrong thing, or even if it's not as strategic as the larger cells of Avalanche would do. And Danielle does a great job of kind of bringing in that tension of like, what do you do when even your allies aren't going far enough? Gosh, great musing there, Danielle. Very much appreciate
Danielle,
that.
Great essay. Thanks for submitting it.
Yeah, well done. Okay, next essay, we're going to go with our friend Ramy Okasha. I just put non-violence ?
Yeah.
Again, my title. But Ramy says that we're mixing categories, and I really do appreciate what Ramy says here. He begins to talk about some nonviolent methodology here. The whole essay is really just an interesting deep dive about Barrett's team and about kind of their whole methodology. I want to read just a little bit here. It says, Shinra's transgressions exceed the depletion of the life stream and the resulting long-term planetary destruction. It's engaged in imperialism and ghettoization worldwide. Armed resistance is justified against such entities as enshrined in real-world international law. With a citation, appreciate that. Shinra has militarily occupied the former capital of the Republic of Junon and has committed atrocities, including genocide in places like Wutai, Corel, and Redor, which is from Ever Crisis, if I remember right. Locally, the proverbial pizza built over the slums is akin to occupation, stripping its people of the basic freedoms like the freedom of movement. People's energy bills fund two of Shinra's imperialist programs, weapons development and the discovery and building of Neo Midgar, a colonial metaphor that is eerily relevant to our world today. Evan, this paragraph got me. I was like, crap, there's a lot going on in this essay.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
that, and real parallels to some of the things that we're dealing with contemporarily, and really I would say in many ages throughout history, but this helps us think about those things. I thought that was really powerful.
Well, it raises just the point of practicality.
Yeah.
Where when you're talking about an ideal ethical environment where people will act in one way continually, and if human behavior were easily predictable on a specific sense, and we understood how all these systems worked, you could have a different kind of conversation. But at some point there does need to be a little bit of realism applied and practicality, which I think we find here. I think that quote, in order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience.
I was about to say that quote shifts the narrative. This is all really great context. And then you're like, okay, well, so if that's the case, then why does that matter? It's that line. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience. Does Shinra, as a corporation, as the people at the top, do they have a conscience? I mean, what do you do when your enemy just doesn't care?
Yeah, it really gets into, and we won't talk about this at great length, but you can do some more reading on the paradox of intolerance that exists when it comes to belief systems that result in the ending or extermination of other belief systems, and to what extent it can feel at the baseline like that would not be morally right or permissible to not allow those things to be given the same footing. But in some cases, folks would argue that if you don't meet these baseline requirements for the common good and human flourishing and thriving, almost getting into some of the ideas of polis that you discussed previously last year, then it is not to be considered on an even intellectual playing field with another.
This essay kind of got to the heart of this for me. I want to read just a little bit more about this particular paragraph. In an ideal world, Avalanche could have remained an advocacy organization, preaching planetology to Midgar's denizens and weaning them from Shinra's Mako. And you kind of see that happening with some of the planetologists in Rebirth. And they're trying to promote, but what happens? You just walk by them. It's like, would you shut up? I'm trying to buy my potions. But it's like, it's the street preachers with the megaphones. It's like, shut them out. Let me get on with my life. Shinra, however, cannot be reformed. And President Shinra himself makes that very clear. Shinra's a hyperbole of corporate fascism with a liberal facade spread via propaganda billboards and impassioned speeches by their middle managers. Oh, I mean, that was like... Or are you kidding me? There's no democracy in Midgar and no grassroots movements on the plate working to change Shinra's practices. Shinra's incorrigibility is central to the character arc of Reeve Tuesti, who we know to be Kate Sith, by the way, spoilers. I should have said spoilers beforehand. The inside man who fails to sway his fellow executive board members and, by the end of the original game, is instrumental to a surgical strike on them that Avalanche could not have performed in their nascent state. That is a pretty crazy thing, I think. That is a powerful line.
There's a lot of places to go, and I think that this brings up a lot of different lines of inquiry while then tying them back together to make a point. So I think this in particular does a lot of heavy lifting, this section on charity in ideals, quickly setting the narrative and the framework and the time frame that we're going to be talking about. And there's a lot of things that it makes me want to talk about, but I'm going to kick it back to you. And if there's something specific that you want to talk about, I just don't want to bring up the three things that necessitate 5 to 10 minutes of context.
I know.
That's the best compliment I could give.
I know. It really is.
Wow.
Just a powerful essay. I'll close with this final line. Rather than fear of coercion, their intent was sabotage of Shinra's exploitative infrastructure to both free the people and save the planet. Just like, that's the purpose. That's the win. Because the question has to be, what is the win in our efforts? Like, how do we determine the goal if things went? You always ask me, if the best thing happened as a result of this stream or this thing that we're doing, what would that best thing be?
And peeling back the curtain to our process here.
I know, right? That's
okay. So here's where I will say I think this is the right opportunity to discuss this small idea. Okay?
Yeah.
And this essay sparked this curiosity for me. What is the language that is spoken that accomplishes things in this world?
Oh.
And who determined what that language would be? I would argue the language is violence as set by Shinra due to their oppressive actions. And then you have to speak the language of change in this environment. And they are in a war. They're just all constantly in war. So we're not talking about a peacetime deliberation. In this context, we could potentially be talking about an active war that's being fought, not a thriving society that has a few flaws. I would say this is a deeply flawed society, world, and structure. So if violence is the language that Shinra has said we're going to speak, do you have to do violence to engage in that conversation and for things to change? I don't know, but it makes me curious.
Yeah. It really does. It really makes me curious as well. Again, we could do an entire show on some, like all of these topics. It's just crazy stuff.
Really. Really well done. And I love where you put this too, because so much of what helps us to engage with this was set by the other essays before.
It's true.
So the order has been good, and I love the way that this kind of weaves together some of the common thought. Being able to reference some of the things that were talked about and expanded about more in the other essays gives this one a lot of weight and power too. So there's both. I think you can see a lot of what we've talked about already in this one. So great job, everybody.
With that, let's kind of transition. Let's ask a different question. Even if you're right, did this actually work? And for that, we turn to our friend Aqua. Aqua, I titled yours, Avalanche Harmed Their Own Goals. Again, more me. Hey, thank you for the subs. I'm sorry I'm not saying thank you to every single one, but we're in the flow right now. Thank you. We appreciate you all being here tonight. So let's talk a little bit about it. With Aqua's, Aqua shifts us from a morality to a legitimacy. I thought that this was a really, really powerful essay. Once again, all of them are powerful in their own sort of rights in their own corners. I want to start with paragraph number 2 here. It's understandable why Avalanche chose such an extreme approach. Shinra is a powerful corporation with immense influence over the government and society, making it incredibly difficult to challenge through conventional means. From Avalanche's perspective, drastic action may have seemed like the only quick and effective way to draw attention to the damage Shinra was causing. Their logic is rooted in desperation, as they believed time was running out and that peaceful efforts would be ignored or suppressed. However, choosing violence not only risked innocent lives, but also undermined their cause by fostering fear and resentment among the public. Man, that's a fascinating one to me. How does that strike you, that kind of opening paragraph to this essay?
Yeah, so the thing that I think is good to highlight that's a little distinct from some of the other essays here is kind of this consequentialist view that we're approaching things to. What are the consequences of the action? These are things that were sparked. This is kind of how the rock tumbled downhill, but who pushed it? And what were the consequences of those actions? And to what extent do the consequences work back to justification? If it had worked out and for some reason no one was killed, does that then change clearly and easily what the conclusion would be? So as we think about frameworks, that's one that I think would be important to introduce.
Yeah, a lot of good questions in the chat. I appreciate the conversation. We got to get through these essays and we'll answer as many as we can, maybe from some of the essays themselves. I want to hit a couple of other things in this particular one from Aqua. A more effective and ethical approach could have involved Avalanche taking a strategic stand focused on public awareness and accountability rather than destruction. By exposing the environmental damage caused by Shinra, Avalanche could have gradually built public recognition and support. And so that's the question of if you're undoing one infrastructure, are you creating a new infrastructure of support? Because it's easy to find the support for Shinra. This might have included investigating laws being broken, uncovering illicit activities, or identifying whistleblowers willing to leak critical information. As public opinion shifted, Shinra's reputation could have been diminished, putting pressure on the company through social, political, and legal channels. I think that's pretty interesting because you're not necessarily, instead of targeting reactors and having civilian consequence, you're targeting the reputation. Yes. Are you in the mind share of the public? While this approach would have undoubtedly been slower and required patience, it would have avoided unnecessary destruction and potential loss of life. Change achieved through awareness and collective action tends to be more sustainable than change driven by fear and violence. Banger line right there. Oh, yeah. We're talking about sustainable change. And I think that's powerful.
So probably a good time to bring up the concept of good faith and bad faith actors present in ethical frameworks and decisions, right? There are some assumptions made, and I think illustrated by the essay, that assume some good faith scenarios that then allow you to make the assertion that they should have been politically active as their means, right? It assumes there's a political system, that there's general recourse and direction, that they've seen things change for the positive through those behaviors in the world leading up to this. It assumes that Shinra itself would subject itself to the opinions and perspective of the public, right? Which is not necessarily consistent with an oppressive regime, but you don't know the exiting factors that would go into that. So when you think about it, you have to say, well, if we can assume that there's these good faith actors here, what could be possible? And so I love that we create that environment to explore with curiosity what could have been different. But I think it's important to talk about the idea of folks that are acting in good faith compared to acting in bad faith.
Oh, I think that's exactly it. One other thing that Aqua says in their essay is it is focusing on diminishing public mentality towards Shinra would have in some ways preserved Avalanche's ability to have the moral high ground. And so they forfeited that to some degree there. And I think that's an interesting aspect. Now, we talked about fighting Firaga with Firaga and that sort of thing. But when they stepped into this new system, what happened was all of the news, which was run by Shinra, created a whole new propaganda machine stoking fear and anxiety about who Avalanche was, when they really wanted to stoke fear of Shinra. So I totally get what you're saying there, Aqua. That's a really important consequence.
Yeah, once you say or do something, you allow others to comment on it, and there's a validity to the judgment of the actions. So when they chose to make a decision, they left it up to public opinion and misinterpretation, but that's the decision that they made. And if you keep it internal, then you're not really doing anything. So they wouldn't be much of a advocacy group if they weren't advocating for anything.
Well, it's so important to remember, especially in this kind of regime and living under the plate, who controls the narrative, who controls all of the messages that are going out and stuff. And that's why I think, and we'll get to this in our remake playthrough, when Barrett gets the camera on him, he's taking a chance to create a new narrative. Be like, you're being lied to, everybody. But again, Shinra is controlling the airwaves. It's complicated, right? Insane stuff. Speaking of infrastructure and being able to build things, let's head to the next essay. This one comes from Spartan. Let's talk about the alternatives to everything. Now, this is a really interesting one. It begins with the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And from the player perspective, it's easy to see Avalanche as inherently good because there are protagonists. Their ideals favor the long-term survival, and Shinra is just comically evil. While Avalanche's end goal of saving the planet is admirable, they go about it in a dangerous way that'll fail to send the right message to most people. Remake may show that Avalanche ultimately did little damage to the reactor, but the group believes that it was their work that caused the massive explosion that severely damaged parts of Sector 8 and presumably 1, and they were more than ready to do the same with the other reactors in Midgar and beyond. Spartan goes on to say, and this is where I just was like, okay, there's some power here. This type of destruction, comes with the deaths of many innocent lives, and the survivors have to deal with the loss of loved ones, their homes, places of work, and if enough reactors are destroyed, their entire way of life. This is wild. In Gaia, infrastructure, transportation, entertainment, and creature comforts revolve around Mako. The average individual would see these threats to all these things, and the message would not be, we should find an alternative to Mako. It becomes, Avalanche will sacrifice us for their vendetta against Shinra. Once Avalanche is named as the perpetrators of the bombing, we see NPCs referring to Avalanche fearfully or aggressively. You can't hide forever, Avalanche. This bombing screwed me over something fierce, and get defensive over the use of Mako. Hey, they blew up a reactor so they could save the planet. More like they want us to give up our way of life. That's really an important piece. Again, talking about this narrative sort of thing. So I don't know. That to me was like, okay, they don't see it as an assault on this corporation. They see it on an assault on their living room.
Yeah, well, I mean, for some of them.
Yeah, for some of them. For above the plate, certainly.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, literally.
You're right. It was their living room, like, absolutely.
Some people's actual living rooms got blown up.
Blowed up.
So, like,
that's true.
I think it's a fair point.
It's a really fair point. Really fair point. Good.
What do you think about this next part where there's this appeal to the moral imperative for not just destruction but for creation, and the responsibility for Avalanche, if you're going to displace something, you then have to replace it with something else, and necessary infrastructure is something that you would need to have a plan for if you were going to tear down, for better or for worse. This is what we use in the world, so it can't just go away right away. So they're not just proposing a plan for synthetic Mako or solar power or some other issue. You would say they're just worried about cracking the eggs, and then they're counting on somebody else to clean it up and make breakfast.
Yeah, that's a great question, Evan. And it's like the immediacy of the need. Does it demand that we have to do things right now and completely upend the infrastructure that we currently have if we don't have something as an alternative in place, ready to go? Because there's going to be a liminal space, a vacancy, a vacuum where maybe even worse infrastructures come in, or no infrastructure, and it's like Lord of the Flies.
To put the West Wing, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. So really, when it comes to knowing that something is wrong, or knowing that this is not the right way to go about things, do you have to have an alternative already in mind? I think it's a great question.
Yeah, to what extent are they called to operate and ethically responsible?
Yeah.
Feels like a weird thing to say in their whole vibe, for not just identifying and dealing with the acute problem, but being a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Or do they view that that's their job? Their job is to crack the egg, and there's another group that's going to know what to do with it, and then there's another group. And is this a generational thing? They're looking to spark something that can create change that can span generations.
Oh, man.
The only way that they know how to make a big enough spark is a big boom.
Yeah. That's it. It is the entire question of, do you destroy a system that people depend on? Well, continuing with our essays, thank you again to Spartan for that contribution. Really appreciate that. We move over to Paul Toten Sua. I can never say that correctly. But
Thanks, Paul.
no resources, there has to be something to replace it. So kind of continuing with that, the Avalanche mission was justified because they lived in a world with Mako reactions and the live stream. Their urgent existential fears for their planet seem to be authentic and accurate. But the real world doesn't quite have those things. So I don't have patience, even have patience for environmentalists that try to vandalize precious works of art or try to block traffic. So this is a very there is a disconnect between what the game is and what we experience is interesting. Marlene says, thanks to the Shinra, we were able to lead very comfortable lives, but isn't that because we were taking away from the planet's life? Well, for Avalanche, it's reasonable to compare standard of living to literally killing the planet. In our world, we don't need to think about the same tension, but the pros and cons of various environmental proposals are far more complex. And for all we know, the human race will invent cold fusion during my lifetime anyway. I do think that it's interesting here to kind of think about what... Say what?
We need cold fusion. I'm fingers crossed for cold fusion in my lifetime.
I think it's an interesting thing to think about where are the priorities of the ethics, right? If you believe or don't believe that something is harming either the planet or the populace, what's the impetus for reacting? I think that in a lot of ways, this is where we're like, well, in some cases, to kind of relate it to the real world, because this author did, Paul did. What demands, well, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to my congressperson, or where am I going to take action at the local level, right? And it's that balance of immediacy and how much is it impacting the way of life.
Yeah, I think it's a really challenging tension, and tension is, I think, the word. It makes me think of trade-offs in life, and I'll be quick, and I know we need to jump on to the next one.
Yeah.
Paul, the essay really does illustrate well to me, and what it invokes in me is this idea of the trade-offs that you have to make in life. There's trade-offs in ethical decision-making. There's trade-offs that you make in everyday decisions. I make a decision to eat one thing or another for lunch, to choose to do something or not to do something. And there's trade-offs there. There's trade-offs for the way that you spend your time. But we try and always bring things back to, what is this big thought? What is this big idea? How can it become minutely actionable in my life? And how does it make me think differently about the way that I operate in the world? That's the application of the story and the narrative from the screen into our own lives. That gains before games that we always talk about. And so I think it does make me think of trade-offs, right? You know, if you're going to propose one thing, what are the trade-offs and what are the alternatives? And it's not about eliminating trade-offs, because they're inherently present in any decision. There's going to be something gained and something not gained. Not necessarily lost, but not gained because you chose one thing over the other. So as you navigate life, there's going to be trade-offs in all of these decision making. So when we try to make the perfect decision at the perfect amount of time to have the perfect amount of information, we're really not going to ever get there. So we get this kind of paralysis by analysis that can happen. And so look out for in our own lives is, to what extent are we just trying to make decisions to manage trade-offs and not really going towards what we think is right or what we want? We're just trying to have the least worst outcome. And is that really living?
Ain't that the truth? I mean, I love that phrase, paralysis by analysis. And, you know, at some point, when do you act? And in what way do you act? And I think that that's kind of where we are. Well, let's move on to the next one. Thank you, Paul, for that essay.
Thanks, Paul.
The next one comes from John I. I called it was just until it wasn't. Now, John is going to give us the cleanest moral hinge of the night, okay? Like, this is pretty intense here. Here's what John says. I'm going to move toward the end of this first paragraph. So we have now established that the defiance of legal authority, even when violent, can be defined as moral resistance rather than immoral terrorism. And he goes about this conversation by talking about the moment that Avalanche continues after believing civilians died, resistance begins to become terrorism. This is fascinating. He says, in the first paragraph, he makes an argument that hey, what they are doing is really just and it's a good resistance. That being said, in the second paragraph, the kind of violence matters. In the case of the American Revolution or other similar cases, the violence was largely confined to combat between military forces comprised of willing occupants, although there is almost always violence against civilians anytime wars are fought near population centers. In the operations that Avalanche undertakes, two kinds of violence are committed. One against official forces of the government, the Shinra military personnel that guard the reactor, and number two, against civilians who were caught in the explosion of Mako Reactor 1. So let's pause for a moment. I am sure any reader familiar with the plot of the game is now objecting that it is Shinra, not Avalanche, that trigger the larger, more destructive explosion. Now, this is where John really just sets me up for failure. This is true, but our protagonists do not know that, so we must judge their actions based on how they operate while under the belief that they're responsible for the wider death and destruction. We, the viewer or the player, have the comfort of knowing, well, Avalanche didn't cause that collateral. But Avalanche doesn't have that knowledge. They believe they did it. And this is where John gets us. I really, really appreciate this. Kind of set up philosophically. It's here that we begin to run into moral problems when the conflict is confined to attacks against property and representatives who have voluntarily placed themselves in positions that are inherently dangerous, of a government perceived rightfully to be authoritarian, then it can well be argued that such actions are legitimate. However, once those actions expand to cause harm to innocent bystanders and the leadership of the group in Barrett deems this to be acceptable, well, the waters get murkier. I'm not sure I had thought about that. Because it's oh yeah, they don't know what I know.
Well, but let's talk about the way that it creates the kind of the bumpers or the guardrails or the fencing of some boundaries for the lens itself, which I think is a really well done. Yeah. It says, hey, listen, obviously this is the broader context, but in this specific context, we're going to explore the intent and reaction of the characters in the simulated state that they find themselves in. What they are operating in is not objectively true, but for the sake of argument, we're assuming that they believe it to be true, and I think they act in the story as if it is true. So if that's the case, then we have kind of our playing field, if you will, set. It's very clear. Here's the markers. These are the things that we're going to do. And so we're going to look at this specific section in the context that they don't know, and then the decisions they made, if that were true, to then be able to decide if they are justified in their actions, or what does that say about their character?
Yeah.
Because of what they knew when they knew it.
It can be read in a couple of ways, right? Their passion and ferocity is just any consequence is worth the end result. Genuinely, the ends justify the means there. And while they are realizing, oh man, that was much bigger than we thought, they never quite come out and realize. They do come up with some ways to kind of mitigate the bombing and stuff in the future, but still, it's we're going to keep going with this. So it speaks to their drive and their mission and their values, even at the cost of collateral damage. I think John brings up a really fascinating angle to this argument. He closes out by saying, in short, the bombing of Reactor 1 as originally planned can be defined as a legitimate resistance. But once the larger one occurs, the group accepts the mass casualties as tragic but necessary. Their actions progress into being definable as terrorism. And that's a problem, right? I think that's a moral dilemma for the player. And I'm so glad that the game discusses it to a degree.
Yeah.
Well,
so as you get, I know that we got to go on to the next one. So as you kind of transition, it asks a question. If you think about stages of decision making, right? There's different frameworks for when you can decide something and when you actually made the decision, or is it when you take the action? But if we think about it, looking back into their situation, let's say that we would say that the setting off the bomb was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And that is an incorrect act. Right. That is incorrect behavior. Just for the sake of quickly discussing it, when they were thinking about it as a product of their circumstances, and that was an action they could take, did they commit evil then?
Yeah.
When they were planning actively, acquiring supplies and making a plan to bomb, was that in itself inherently evil? When did they cross over? When they then, with intent, took the action. That's when it became real. Until the moment that the bomb was set off. Is there a slow build that comes? Is there just a certain point? And does their intent matter, or is the action itself subject to individual scrutiny relative to the situation? Fascinating.
God, it's just so good, right? And like, oh man, this community continues to impress me. So thank you, John, for that essay. In the interest of time, we are going to move forward. Next, even if justified, the mission failed. I appreciate this article or essay from Dovy M, Sephiroth 1204. This essay made me think twice about the bombing mission again. And maybe I guess I should say think 10 times, because it's essay number 10. But here's what it says. The question to deal with: is this truly justified? I would like to argue that it is not, for several reasons. I'm picking up right here. There's some good stuff in the first two paragraphs, but this is where it really begins to pick up. First, the Avalanche splinter, headed by Barrett Wallace, is already in the extremist fringe of Avalanche and not in good favor with the main organization. Avalanche shares the same goal of saving the planet, but not at the cost of human life that Barrett allows. He's devastated by the plate destroying Sector 7, but cares not at all for those killed in his own bombings. The vigilantism here endangers not only the resistance fighters of Avalanche, but those who are trying to protect who are also victims of Shinra. At the end of the day, Barrett's motivations are selfish. Secondly, as we see from the aftermath, the means did not justify the ends at all. Now that begins to target one of the key arguments. The ends justify the means. It says, well, it didn't. Shinra only changed because the president was killed and his son took over with a different kind of control. Midgar doesn't change. Gaia doesn't change. All that changes is that our heroes have higher stakes on their conscience that causes them to keep fighting. Midgar becomes a side note in the story, being returned to later no worse for wear, aside from the attack from the diamond weapon on the Mako cannon. That's a part 3 sort of thing. Shinra doesn't change. Avalanche does not change. The balance of power doesn't change. Barrett changes in that he has the deaths of even more loved ones on his conscience. The mission was a total failure. The last line of this, however, the fact that our heroes saved the world without resorting to further terroristic activities shows the pointlessness of their original actions. There was a better way, filled with its own hardships, but far less pain to those who were trying to get by. That's a really interesting piece here, because we have talked a lot about, do the ends justify the means, but here it says even if that's your goal, it's not accurate.
Well, it's true, and I think it's important to frame in perspective that we have a monolithic antagonist in Shinra.
Yeah,
I would say most people would agree. Just bad across the board for all the reasons that we know. They are not operating to do a lot of the most good where they can. They could do a lot better, right? Shinra could do a lot better. I think is a fair statement that everyone could agree with, right? We won't say they're evil, but Shinra could do a lot better, right? So if they're monolithic in the story, in their antagonism, but then we have a host of nuanced protagonists that we get access into their thoughts, their conflicts, we would say, oh, well, we've seen the discussions that they have. We know that they're wrestling with it. They should know better. They should know better, right?
Yeah.
But because we have a monolithic antagonist, nobody applies that lens to Shinra. So we spend all this
It's
time
fair.
with people that we're supposed to connect with, but then we're saying they don't have the same ideological imperative that the protagonists would, right?
Yeah.
And that's the nature of the story.
Yeah.
Because the protagonists probably represent our agency in
Yeah.
fruitless situations, right? So
Oh my
that's a
goodness,
narrative
yeah.
device that gets used here. But it is fascinating how much we're just like, yeah, they're evil, there's evil, here we go. Now let's focus on what the good guys should know.
That's really fair.
And that's what good
That's fair.
guys do, right?
That's
They
it.
wrestle with those tensions.
I just stinking love it. It's so good. Okay, let's keep going. Thank you so much, Sephiroth, for that. That's a strange thing to say. Thank you, Dovy M. Sephiroth, I should say.
Thank you, Sephiroth.
Thank you, Sephiroth, for that insightful thing. So I love that. Hey, next we're going to go to Rexona, who offers a really interesting character analysis. This was an approach to the essay that I was not anticipating, because Rexona goes through character by character, discussing psychology and the gray morality of these characters.
That's
Rex,
not something we would ever do.
Right. Rex says it's neither terrorism nor resistance that drives Avalanche to their actions. Rather, it's the motivations tailored to each individual character. Let's go through a few of these. Barrett lost his home and his wife to Shinra's greed in the past. He seeks revenge against Shinra, and in doing so, he gives in to his greed, essentially denying and repressing his true self into his subconscious. He becomes, to a certain extent, the very thing he swore to fight. His motivation is his thirst for revenge. Avalanche is essentially just a facade to satisfy that thirst. Sheesh. Let's keep going. Tifa lost her home and her father to Shinra. Sephiroth was a part of it. Because of this, she essentially denies and represses her true self and her feelings into her subconscious, which often causes her insecurity. She's a prisoner of her emotions, which often makes her doubt herself and her actions. However, this also makes her the rational voice of Avalanche, as she doesn't focus solely on her ego like Barrett. Indeed, she often reminds Barrett of Avalanche's true purpose. Her motivation is her hatred for Shinra, Sephiroth soldiers, and Mako. Avalanche is merely a facade. Aerith lost her mother and home to Shinra in the past. She's the last descendant of the Cetra, and therefore Shinra is determined to convince Aerith to work with her, even if it means resorting to violence. During her childhood in the slums, Aerith was constantly on the run and under pressure from Shinra. This, however, unconsciously fostered an extremely strong self-confidence that radiates from her. Because Aerith possesses the white materia, she also possesses the all-encompassing memories, dreams, desires the planet. With the events unfolding to the group, Aerith's destiny will soon be fulfilled. However, Aerith is afraid of her destiny. Kind of goes into some of the destiny sort of things regarding remake and rebirth. And then Rexona, says, I'm deliberately leaving Cloud out of this because it would take too long to explain his motivations and reasons, but I can at least say that he harbors hatred, greed, and delusion. Now, bringing all of this together, looking too deeply into the past also means confronting our subconscious. Our dark, evil, and warlike primal instincts are awakened in ourself, in our consciousness. It's like our ancient human nature, which was necessary for survival in prehistoric times. The problem is that if we aren't honest with ourselves, that is each and every self, as I've already explained regarding Tifa, Barrett, and Aerith, then this dark subconscious consumes our consciousness. Hatred, greed, and delusion take over our thoughts and actions, and we're controlled by others and become nothing more than a facade driven by our emotions. This is such an interesting, cerebral, heady essay, because it's going into all of this deep within your subconscious. You think you're fighting Shinra, but it's actually something much, much deeper. You are fighting some aspect of yourself, and igniting some aspect of yourself. And so the real battle is really in the battlefield of your own psyche and consciousness. Boy, that's a fascinating thing that is vivified in the rest of the game as well. How does this one strike you, Evan?
I love the focus on relationships.
Yeah.
And the context that the individuals bring into the decisions. Psychology is a very imperfect science. It is observational and it does trends, but people will make different decisions than a psychologist would even predict, right? So because humans are erratic, that's what makes it fascinating. It's why stories are so important for us to be able to engage with ideas, because they're characters that have nuance and motivations that exist within that plane. So it makes it a fun thing to talk about. Now, this introduces an ethical concept and framework that we actually don't get to talk about much. And that is care ethics, which would say, and I'm just going to read this because I think it's better. It's a moral framework that prioritizes interpersonal relationships, empathy, and responsiveness to dependency over abstract, impartial principles.
Right.
That the reality of relationships and the way that we see the world and the way that we experience the world, which is through our own narratives and the narratives of those that we actually interact with, that those could have at times more weight than some perfect or impartial principle in the future.
Yeah.
It's one framework to look at things, but I think we explore that a little bit here.
I think that is so spot on. The essay here ends with Avalanche is acting correctly, in principle, acting correctly because they are preventing the death of the planet. Avalanche, however, must not let their selfish feelings blind them. Otherwise, they will become like Sephiroth and Shinra. The planet will be saved, but what about the people and all living beings? This reminds me of at the end of Rebirth, when Aerith says to Cloud, but it's not about that. It's about saving the planet and you. I love this because when we are thinking about kind of the cycles of suffering, I'm referring to kind of Buddhism to some degree. When we're thinking about the cycles of suffering, it's not enough to just stop the infrastructure of suffering, but there's an internal suffering that also has to be alleviated. If you don't alleviate the internal suffering, that ethics of care for self and for others, right? If you don't address that, new infrastructures of suffering are just going to be recreated. Does that make sense, Evan? Do you get what I'm saying here?
It's an acknowledgement of the self in addition to an acknowledgement of the cycle, which means we'll never figure it out. We'll
never speak. Yeah, isn't that the truth, right? Like, what came first, chicken or the egg? The suffering or the internal suffering? Who knows?
We do know suffering exists, though.
We do. Hey, just a quick thank you again to Rexona. This is a great, very different character analysis or analysis of the question. I love that. Next, we come to Roshan. Roshan here is going to take us through some real-world examples. I love Roshan gave us a title. Says, A Tale of Two Bombs. Gosh, what a banger thing. Here's what happens with Roshan's essay, and I'm going to encourage you to read it on your own on the website tomorrow. Roshan begins by asking, was the bombing of the Mako reactor justified or an act of terrorism? Well, it's complicated. And so Roshan goes into real-world happenings. This is also the case of a similar act that occurred in South Africa during the apartheid era. This act is also layered with complexity depending on your perspective. And here's what Roshan says. Once dissected, oh gosh, I missed where I was starting. Okay, in 1982, the Coburg nuclear power station in Cape Town was rocked by bomb blasts set by operatives from the African National Congress. What this blast did was severely set back the apartheid regime's nuclear weapons program, and it ultimately led to the abandonment of the program completely. One of the key operatives, Renfrew Christie, was arrested and charged with terrorism by the regime and spent years on death row before being released at the end of apartheid. When asked about if he regretted his actions in aiding the ANC to bomb the facility, Christie stated, "I was working for Nelson Mandela. I'm very proud of that. We won. We got democracy. The apartheid regime argued that Christie was a terrorist, and its supporters held that perspective too. However, when you analyze past these surface level observations, you see that this regime was a brutal and oppressive force. The apartheid regime was a brutal and oppressive force where the native African populations held no basic rights and were at best second-class citizens of the land they were indigenous to. Such a regime gaining a nuclear bomb would be emboldened to never back down from their brutality. The desire for equal rights and democracy would become futile in the face of a nuclear bomb, such as the case with North Korea and its own brutal regime. No one, not even the US, dared to challenge the Kim regime due to their possession of nuclear weapons. The act of bombing the nuclear facility prevented that scenario from occurring in South Africa and paved the way to freedom and democracy. When you look at the bombing of the Mako reactor, similarities are clear. The idea was to halt and cripple Shinra's ability to access Mako and prevent the death of the planet, much like how the operatives in South Africa sought to cripple the regime's nuclear infrastructure. Of course, Shinra takes advantage of this, and the destruction that followed aggressively pushed the idea of the group as a terrorist cell, but it's all about perspective here. The act was done with the intent to save the planet and guarantee a better future, while the powers that were in place then disagreed and controlled the narrative. It's clear these acts are justified in that they do just that, allowing for a chance at a better or more equal and safe future to be carved out for the next generation. I read a lot more of this essay than I had some of the others, mainly because we needed the context for some real world history here. And I think that that's a really important thing. Anytime we look at games like this, with one eye on the game, we're also living in all of the context of history and the world around us. And so Roshan does a great job of bringing in this example to help us think more realistically. Now, kind of returns us to do that ends justify the means, which we've kind of been all over with tonight. But how does this example really strike you, Evan? And what does it make you think about?
Yeah, let's set the framework. I think I am not, and you are not, to my knowledge, a South African historian.
Nope, I cannot speak to a lot of this stuff.
We will not in any way assert the validity of like some of the conclusions. I don't know, right?
No.
Like I don't know what the results and the outcomes were. And I don't know the motivations and the justifications, but what I think this essay does is set a framework for a real world narrative to layer it over this. So let's just assume within the context of the essay, all of the assertions are true and accurate, which I don't know if they are or aren't, but I think when we're talking about real world historical things compared to a fiction, we have to give those kinds of caveats in order to stay intellectually honest for what we're actually discussing.
I agree.
think it really helps us stay on the rails. So those assumptions being made that this is accurate, I have no reason to think that they aren't, but I don't know. So I will always say what I don't know first.
Yeah, we're ignorant of things outside of our expertise, and so we're trusting this. Yeah.
So if we're looking at the slowing the rate of progress as a justification for the action and the implications of what could be and the evils that would be possible present within the regime or within the Shinra Corporation, it is an interesting question. Well, if we don't do this, look what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And we would say, given Shinra's past, we could assume that if they have a weapon, eventually they will use it, right? That's a common justification for decisions like these. Then at that point, not only is it justifiable in this framework for Avalanche, is it their moral imperative to impede? So that's the part that I'm curious to talk more about.
It's just so interesting. And Roshan, thank you for sharing this essay with us, just some real world examples. And it is a reminder that we do not play video games in a vacuum, right? We bring to these games experiences that are deeply meaningful to us. And so if you have an eye for history or a knowledge of the news, for example, that's how you approach the games. And it's the lens with which you go. When I was in theology school, masters of divinity and religious studies and all of that kind of stuff. When I was in that, we would oftentimes speak of theologians, and I particularly remember Karl Barth. And Karl Barth would oftentimes say when we approach theology, when we approach theology or the Bible, we do so with a Bible in one hand and a newspaper in the other. And I think it's a great way of thinking about things. If you're just reading the primary text, whether it be the Bible or Final Fantasy VII or whatever the primary text is, that can be very helpful. But to make something useful and practical, you're going to bring in a secondary lens, which is oftentimes the context, the culture, and the framework that it's going to matter to. This is one of the things that I try to do with my students at the end of our classes. I'm constantly like, so what do we do with what we learned today? What was worth waking up for today to come to class? And if we don't have a practical application, then we've wasted our time here. I don't believe that playing video games or doing entertainment sort of things is a waste of time when we bring a lens to reframe the world. This is the stuff of ancient mythologies, the stuff of parables. We read and listen and consume media so that we can think more deeply about our real lives.
And I think it's the nature and the definition of recreation.
Yeah.
I think that the way that we say it in English makes it a little bit tricky and moves away from its actual meaning. It is literally a recreation of self by looking at something else and getting away. A full disconnect, something that requires our full brain and our full attention to engage in so that then we can be recreated, take the time and space to reapproach our actual lives, and then make different decisions than we might have before, leaving changed people. We are being recreated, and that's the nature of recreation. So that's the difference between video games as just an escape and video games as recreation in my mind.
I think it's great. Chat, those are all of our essays for this month. So
Way to go.
Everybody give yourselves a round of applause. This has been a very surprising stream. We got into some really cool things. It has been a delight for me to read all of these essays. Like I said, we're going to post these up on the website. I'm going to reach out to the authors as well, just to make sure that's okay, because I haven't done that actually, so we're going to do that. But we are so grateful for this. It's not every community on the internet that can do a 500-word essay and then spend a stream analyzing them. And I think that's just really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I'm going to take my leave here shortly and let you guys get on to what is next. But thanks for all the wonderful essays and the discussion in the chat, and for always being so welcoming. It's great to see you again. And I just want to say thank you for contributing to something that was meaningful. For those of you who have watched and participated, or if you're watching on the VOD, the whole goal is, what does it look like to do something with meaning? And these essays created meaningful discussion and meaningful connection between everyone. And so whether you participated in the chat or whether you took the time to write an essay, we hope you'll think about writing one if you didn't for the next essay submission. But you contributed to an experience that was meaningful and that mattered. And I don't know what your week is like. I don't know what your year has been like. But the fact that we can create these spaces to do meaningful things and be engaged with one another and talk about real life and through a story that we all love, I think is really special. So it's always an honor and a pleasure to be a part of it. Thanks for all the work that you're doing, Prof. And I'm looking forward to the lecture stream after this.
Well, Evan, before you leave, we got to talk about the next essay. In fact, already in the chat, people are asking. So let's talk about it. Next month is February. Excuse me, this month is February. This month is February, which means everybody's thinking about relationships. And as you know, Evan, as we sometimes mention jovially on stream, people have opinions about relationships in this game. Now, we do not want this to be all about fighting relationships, but we do want to talk about some key relationships. And so here is our prompt for the month of February. Boom! Our February essay showcase. Let's make it big screened right there. what the party's friendships and relationships reveal about them and us. We are asking you to become an armchair psychologist. Analyze why relationships matter in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, and why certain pairings resonate with you. This is not about which relationships are best. It's about why certain connections unlock meaning, identity, and emotion, particularly in you. Please turn it in by February 28th. You can submit to essays at ProfNoctis.com. There's a couple things that I want to say right here about all this. There's Evan. Let's see if we can get it down here. Right here. Bam. You can kind of look at this. I think that it's a really interesting idea for us. This is not just about relationships that Cloud has. I'd be really curious about what Barrett and Yuffie's friendship, as conveyed in Rebirth, has meant to you. Now, here's the other thing, and I'm going to have a much larger description that I'm going to post on Twitter and social media and in the Discord. But I'm really curious, not just about your favorite, but why is it your favorite? Why is it meaningful to you? What did it unlock in you when you saw it conveyed about a particular friendship, relationship, sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever it is? What was it about that unlocked something in you? And if you want to use outside sources, I think that that's great. You could also come at this by saying, why do you think some people resonate towards certain relationships in the game than others? What does that say about us psychologically? And we're going to talk a little bit about this. Here are my ground rules for this. You cannot exalt your preference in relationship by putting someone else's down. That is the rule that we're going to have. We're going to focus on the things that we love, not on the things that we hate. Okay? So, for example, this is a great question, Brandon. Can you clarify that for you with an example? Here would be an example. I'm going to use Clive and Joshua in Final Fantasy 16, just to not use anybody's. Clive and Joshua are an incredible brotherly relationship, but early on in the game, Clive does something out of his control that doesn't allow, that hurts and harms his family, particularly Joshua. When I was playing through that, I was thinking through my own family dynamics with my little brother. And it really caused me to think about my sibling rivalry. In some ways, instances where I didn't seek the best for my brother. I wasn't his shield, but instead I inadvertently created harm for him. And that made me think a lot about that sort of thing. So, chat, that's what I want you to do with the Final Fantasy VII universe, okay? I think this is going to be great. This isn't about shipping wars. This is about, what do you love? What do you love, and who spoke to you as a person? Evan, do you understand that?
Yeah, I'm gonna do mine on the frog children and like maybe what they talk about in their little frog cave.
It's gonna be my relationship with mini games.
Yeah.
What spoke to me most?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking I'm gonna do.
I hope it starts with a ribbit, Evan. Can you just write it all in ribbits?
Well, I was gonna say I'm gonna write the whole thing in frog, and so you're gonna need
a frog translator. That's good.
And I'm trying to think of a pun of an amphibian and a linguistics, and I'm worried I'm going to get in trouble. So I can't think of a good one. So we'll need a frog linguist to interpret it. So
we will.
No, I think it's great. I think we'll be able to handle it. And listen, everybody, we're not scared.
We're not scared. We're not
scared at all.
We're not, and we're going to model good conversations about this stuff. For you. I promise you that, with ProfChats and things like that coming up, okay? Prof and Roche, please write that one. Can you write more than one? I would prefer that you focus on one essay. That, as you can see, we went way over time in our expectations, but we'll do it for good, worthwhile content. Hey, everybody, Evan is going to take off now. We're going to hang out for a little bit longer. We're going to play some of the Shinra Arc stuff for maybe another 45 minutes or an hour or so, but thank you, Evan. This has been awesome. And we'll see you next month, buddy.
Here I go. I'm closing it. See you next month.
All right. See ya, man. Okay, everybody. And now we are going into the Shinra Arc stuff, which means I get to go into green screen mode. Okay. So while I am getting the stream set up for everybody, you can do multiple relationships. While I'm transitioning, let me ask you this question. How was our first essay showcase? I'd love some feedback. We've never tried anything like this before. We've got a lot to learn, but I would love to know a little bit more about your take on this. How was it listening to each other? We really wanted to highlight non-content creators in this, just the everyday person. So with that, let me bounce over and put on my green screen. Also, just super thanks to our friends Sing 4D Laughter. Oh my gosh, they've just crushed it with this background music for us. Oh, it's nothing but green now. Getting to see how the sausage is made right now. Oh, we're so back. I need to react to the live stream videos. What live stream videos? Oh, the ones that people have been sending me. Yeah. We're going to have to do that on another night to be TBQH. Yeah. Oh, man. I think it's going to be really an interesting journey. I'm excited to see what kind of comes from these essays. My hope, my real hope, is that we're going to see... we're going to elevate the conversation around this game, you know? That's my hope against all hope. One of a kind channel. I mean, I hope so. I think so. Just basing it off your title, I'm going to go ahead and say I think FF7 has everything to do with data centers and AI and how they're sucking our planet dry. Man, wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah. Yeah, Wiggles. We just finished up all of our essays for the night, but there's definitely implications for that. There was a new video under the weekend. Oh, the under the plate video. Okay. We're gonna have to save that for Thursday. Okay, we're gonna have to save that for Thursday. For now, we are gonna bounce over to the Shinra archaeology cut of Final Fantasy VII. Everybody. And play that for just a little bit. Let's see if we can... Man, we're trying to elevate it. It can be really challenging at times, though. But it has been so fun. Oh, we're looking for a game to capture now. There it is. Look at us. Oh my gosh. Let me turn off Sing 4D Laughter. So many fantastic points. That's kind of what I took away from it too. Man, thank you guys. Y'all are so kind. And I really hope that if this has been special for you, let me turn down the music a little bit. There we go. I think I was muted. I'm back now. Sorry, friends. Super Ramio, welcome to class. My friend, we read your essay earlier. And it was just wonderful. I hope you'll watch the VOD. We had a lot to say about it. I'm probably going to turn that one into a different, into a podcast, to be honest. Yeah, it's just fun. Let me pull out my my controller, which I seem to have left somewhere. One second, I'll be right back. Okay, I have returned. All right, let's continue. ProfNoctis and tech issues. Man! Okay. Can you hear the music? Okay, I figured it out. Thank you, Ocean. Yeah, thank you all for contributing to those essays. They were just so fun. Hey, now everybody, we are going to bounce over to the Shinra archaeology cut. And can I tell you something really exciting, friends? Can I tell you something exciting? Our friends over at Shinra Arc, they are going to be our first Prof Chat of the year. And so we are posting that interview next Monday. In fact, there's one right here. Turquoise Hammer. What's up, my friend? Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you were lurking for the essays. Thank you so much. Ironically, you got to go to sleep. Hey, sleep well, Turk. I hope that you have a great evening. You'll get to hear more from Turk and Odie on Monday when our interview with them goes live. Man, like, people in the Final Fantasy VII fandom are talented. And that, friends, like, that was the whole reason why I was like, we have got to highlight some of these people. Because like I said in my preview trailer, you should not have to be good with a camera or video editing skills or be called a content creator to have a good opinion about this game series, because I know that you all have really good and cool, insightful thoughts on this series. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be able to highlight everybody's thoughts, not just video essayists. Because y'all are smart, as you proved tonight, and even in the chat, y'all were doing great. Well, tonight, let's go ahead and bounce into Shinra Archaeology Cut. Let's do it, baby. Where we last left off, friends. Where we last left off, we were at the Avalanche hideout. And if you remember, my mind was absolutely blown by several things. Okay. There we go. No branching stuff. Ah, thank you, Turk. Appreciate you. Okay, look at us. I'm loving the models. Some of you had mentioned to me in the DMs and even in our last stream, you were like really concerned about this being a fan fiction. We are going to explain that in our conversation with the Shinra Arc folks on Monday. Spoilers a little bit. It is not fan fiction, but we're going to explain a little bit about how they got what they got and all this stuff. So it's going to be good stuff. Look forward to that conversation. You're going to be really impressed. Good morning, Cloud. Sleep okay? Barrett snoring kept me up. Next to you, who wouldn't? I mean, Cloud in this playthrough, what's that supposed to mean? I love it. I think that went over my head as a 13-year-old too. Anyway, I'm coming with you this time. That is true, Amy. Thank you for that. Let's talk to sweet Marlene. Hey, girl. No, she don't want to talk to me. Okay. Yo, Barrett. See ya, John. Our target this time is Mako Reactor 5. Let's head for the station first. I'll give you the details of the train. By the way, got a message from one of the guys above the weapons shop. Said he's got something special for you, wants you to come and get it. There, message delivered. And remember, any funny business, you know what'll happen. Look after the bar while we're gone. Okay, Marlene? I will. Good luck today. All right. And down we go. So let's go to the weapon shop. Huh? Hey you, don't you dare walk out of here without buying something. Wouldn't want there to be any consequences, would you? I would absolutely like to buy some of these things, though. And one for Tiefs as well. Oh, I own 4 of these? Oops. I'm not very good with item and materia management. Okay, I think we're good. Materia. Let's give Tief some healing. And what I can say about the mods and the upgraded version is that I believe that it will I think that a lot of the modders are trying to update their mods for this, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I know I saw that from Suna mods. I don't need anything from y'all. Bet you've never met an ex-soldier. I'll show you how much I know, and for free, too. What do you want to learn about? I don't need any of this. I'm so good. I'm an old pro at this game. I think I'm all set, friend. Good night, Co-Climber. See ya. The save point. Okay. I guess we don't really need that. It'll have to stay a secret till later. Huh. But eventually you'll leave Midgar and step out into the world map. While on it, you'll be able to save anywhere. That's neat. I don't remember. Oh, gosh. Whether you're far from home getting up to mischief or have the sinking feeling you're about to get your butt whooped, give me a holler. Better safe than sorry, am I right? Anyway, I'll probably see you again somewhere down the road. Take care. Howdy, I'm a treasure chest. Newbies would do well to keep an eye out for me. Bet you saw a whole lot of combat. Oh, man. I gotta get out of this tutorial area. I'm not hard up enough to need your money, but sure, I'll rap with you for a while. What do you want to know about? I don't want to know about anything. Did someone say dad joke? That's what these are. Oh, the rewards are back on. Okay, good deal. Good deal. Thank you. Let me know if there are rewards that are happening. You just beat Final Fantasy Tactics? How was it? Did you like it? Oops. My bad. My bad. There we go. Let's get out of this place. Oh, wait. There was materia. Okay, get back in there. Get back in there. Magnify. Treasure chest. Ether. And up we go. Bow, bow, bow. Hey, kiddo. Doesn't mean you get to rest for free. What's it gonna be? I don't need to sleep. You put a little boogie in it? Oh, that's a good one. Sleep while you can. That's my motto. Oh, Smith requested a dad joke? I missed that. I'm sorry. Dad joke for you. What's a good dad joke? Okay, here's one for you. Knock, knock. Who's there? Goliath. Goliath who? Goliath down, you looketh tired. That slays. That's such a good one. Maybe the shop's just no good anymore. Hard to make a business selling medicine in these slums. Oh, what have we here? Isn't this a rare sight? Could you be a customer? Welcome, welcome. Buying, selling, we do it all. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics is very thought-provoking. Man, what a game, that Final Fantasy Tactics. Say, you wouldn't happen to be... No, never mind, forget I said anything. Materia. Oh, me. Oh, wait. Where do you know where King David's temple was located? Next to his ear. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh man. That's funny. Uh-oh. That's not what I wanted to do. Stop it. Let's go here. And I want to do magnify, and I want to do healing. Let's give her ice. I don't know why I always equip Tifa with ice, but I do, like, every time. She regrets her life choices. You know. Ah, yeah. Man, I love Final Fantasy Tactics for that reason. It's such an interesting story. Oh, there's Johnny. There's Johnny. He's leaving town. The hell are you doing? The operation's already started. Somebody go talk to Johnny. Well, looks like this is goodbye. I'm going on a journey to make myself a better man. Hey, Mr. Childhood Friend, you better take good care of Tifa. God, I freaking love Johnny. Time to move out. Quit lollygagging. Come on, Barrett. Let's go. It's hard to cope even when a kid like that leaves home. I just can't seem to relax. Odd, isn't it? Huh, I wonder if my son's already set out. Sure gets lonely with just me and my wife here. Let's go to the toilet. No. Let's go to the... Okay. Nice Jill Boric parallel there. Oh, there it is. Oh, wait, what's the child saying? You like Marlene? I guess when it comes down to it, I'm not brave at all. I'm just a gutless, good-for-nothing kid. You're more than that, to me. Oh, come on. If there's no one to listen, what's the use in gathering all this gossip? Hey, you there, Mr. Not Interested. Next time I'll have a scoop that'll pique even your interest. Just you wait. Johnny took off. I feel so lifeless all of a sudden. Got no competition anymore. I know it isn't flattering to say, but I get real lonely when I'm not drinking. Poor guy. The other people now? So that's a good question. They vanished. Halt, this area is off limits. Sir, I got my hands on tickets for Loveless. Would you like to go with me? The hell are you on about? Midgar's in a state of emergency. Oh, sir, are you really that concerned for my safety? Hell no. In case you forgot, those terrorists are hiding out in the slums. We can't afford to lose focus. Oh, right. You mean those Avalanche guys. I'm sure everything will be fine. Shinra's even added soldiers to their security. Okay. Okay, let's talk to these guys. I can't wait any longer. Chat, real talk. When I was in 8th grade, my math teacher, he would go through the attendance every day, and we'd say your name here and all that stuff. And he would come to me, and he would say, Wade Langer. That's my name, right? Dr. Langer. And he would say, I would say here, and he would say, I can't wait any longer. So anyway, that's what that makes me think about. It doesn't happen on camera. It says that in the... This ain't Costa del Sol yet. It's okay, I'm ready. You finally said it. I'm so happy. Well, shall we? And then they pass out. What is this? Zzz. I guess you could say they slept together. And that was a dad joke. That was free of charge. Oh, Wedge and... Oh, look at him! Hey, what the hell are you guys doing? Oh, Barrett, we were, It's no use. It doesn't work when we try it. Come on, guys. Don't lose hope. Hey, Cloud, let's break a leg out there today. Say, after we're finished this mission, why don't we all take some time off? We could go to a hot spring or something. Okay. If I'm in the mood. Great, I'll hold you to it. Yo, you all done flapping your gums? Go, get on that train. You know, there's no need to act so cold. Everyone here wants to be on your side. I'm sure if... Yeah, right, we're here to fight. Join a chess club if you want to make friends. That's good. Let's go, people. Clock's ticking. Yeah, they're trying to do what the party members do to merge into... Did you see how they got shocked when they all merged into each other? Good morning, friend. A new day dawns on a world unchanged. You stay safe out there, you hear? Bon voyage. I freaking love this game so much. God, it's good. All right, y'all. This ain't no private train, so spread out. Stuck riding with the hoodlums again. Don't I just have all the luck? The Shinra Creed. Huh? Yo, suit. Sure is empty in here. The hell's going on? It's empty because of guys like you. Yikes! Haven't you seen the news? Avalanche is threatening more bombings. Only a devoted Shinra employee like myself would risk going into Midgar on a day like this. A Shinra sheep, huh? I won't be intimidated by violence. Barrett! Shit, you're lucky she's here. So, what's the plan? Look at this prick acting so calm. Gonna throw off my whole damn rhythm. Yo, hold up a sec. We didn't make no bomb threat, did we? What are you complaining about? Avalanche is practically famous now. Huh, famous, huh? Amazing. I love the middle manager stuff. Sounds like the connection window's up. We're leaving the station. So, you gonna fill us in on this mission? Ha! Look who's eager to walk all of a sudden. Guess I got no choice. I'll start the briefing. You probably already heard from Jesse, but there's checkpoints we gotta pass through on the way up to the plate. The security system there scans the IDs in each car. Shinra's very proud of it. We can't use those fake IDs from earlier anymore. Hello, and thank you for riding with us today. Our expected time of arrival at Sector 4 Station is 11:45 a.m. Midgar Standard. We got about 3 minutes before we reach the ID checkpoint. Alright, that means in 3 minutes we're jumping off of this train. Got it? What are we supposed to do till then? The hell do I care? Try sitting down. Sorry, I've got a rule about sitting down on trains. Fine, suit yourself. So what comes next after we jump? Why don't you tell me? You're the brainiac ex-soldier. Guessing you know the lay of Mako Reactor 5, so come on, let's hear your strategy, Mr. Know-It-All. I can help too, you know. The hell you can, don't even know why you came along. Tifa is about to punch Barrett out. Oh yeah? How about I show you with my fists? Shh, forget y'all. Tifa is done with him. Cloud, over here. Come take a look at the route monitor. Let's talk to this guy back here. You're the only one who'll come say hi to me in my own home. Color me impressed. Oh, welcome, Stormer. How you doing? Love those cactuars. You're the brainiac ex-soldier. Don't mind me. What a story this will make for the folks at work. Hey, Teefs. From the look on your face, I'm guessing you've already seen this. Well, that's fine. We can look again. Scoot in a little closer. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's odd. The ID checkpoint's supposed to be farther up ahead. Level A security system activated. Unregistered ID detected on train. Commencing emergency search of all passenger cars. Repeat. Level A security system activated. Unregistered ID detected on train. Commencing emergency search of all passenger cars. What's going on? The hell's happening? We're in trouble. I'll explain later. Right now, we have to hurry. Get to the next car. Shit, someone dropped the ball. Unregistered ID detected in car 1, preparing to lock doors. Come on, let's move. Don't fall behind. We got to talk to Shinra middle manager. Oh, nope. Now we got to go. Car 1 locked down, upgrading to level 2 alert. We need to keep moving. You gonna tell us what's going on? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Wow, are things always this crazy? What do you mean? Yo, get the hell out of my face. What do you mean? It's too embarrassing to say. This ain't no time for games. Unregistered ID detected in car 2, preparing to lock doors. Tifa! Oh, y'all gotta let me know when things happen like that. There it is. Tifa! They're locking the doors. Better hurry up. We'll get through this. Do it just like we rehearsed. I'll go ahead, falling back to plan B. What's our move? Oh, wait a second. Everybody. Here I am forgetting about silly, silly me. That was so dumb. 1 second. I forgot to put this on there. My channel rewards. That's why they haven't been popping. I'm sorry. Bam. Now they pop. So, my bad. Sorry, everybody. Boom. That should do it. Okay, good deal. Just keep running. We're switching over to plan B. Damn, guess we got no choice. Let's gun it, y'all. It's funny because he's got a gun on his arm. Yo, quit making such a racket. Hello, children. I love it when the siren goes off. All these alarms, something serious going down? Seriously, stop acting like this. Public train, can I help you? No, I don't. Ah, we gotta go. That was close. Car 2 locked down, upgrading to level 3 alert. Oh, here's that guy that comes walking down and steals from me. All right, we clear? Not yet. They'll start another scan any second. If it catches us, we're done for. But don't worry. If we keep working our way up the cars, we should be able to avoid it. Huh? How's that work? You need to know right now? Fine, I'll explain it. This train's equipped with Shinra's older Type A security system. Once it detects an unregistered ID, the system starts sending another car to shh, not now. The cars stay locked until the train pulls into the next station where a bunch of Shinra troopers will be waiting. Yo, butt out! I'm trying to pay attention here, but it's an outdated system, so it's impossible to fool it. If we keep moving from car to car, we should be able to avoid getting trapped. The second scan is going to start in just a moment. Let's hurry to the next car. Everybody go! Here comes this guy. No, get him. Get him. Can I help you? Busted. Yup. Please forgive me. Okay, whatever. Farewell, Midgard. No, you don't! Oh, in that case... Oh, we gotta go. Car 3 locked down. Okay. Hello, naked man. What? Shiver, this is the worst. Bandits these days will rob every last thing on you. I'm aware. What the heck happened? Butt naked. Oh, no. Everybody's naked in this car. How was I supposed to say no? Okay. That was crazy. It's so stressful to try to get these translations while I'm trying to get through this. Come on, this way. I'm coming. Time to blow this pop stand. We'll jump out here. It's me, Jesse. What do you think, Cloud? Do I look good in a Shinra uniform? Yeah. You look great. Very strapping. Really? Thanks, I think. Looks scary. Too late to back out now. Why'd you come anyway? Because Oh, it's because you wanted to be around him, keep an eye on him. Come on, you two. Clock's ticking. It's me, Jesse. Listen, you're fine. Now's not the time, though. Just focus on the mission. Sorry, you're right. I want to talk to him. Always wanted to dress up fancy like this. Yo, quit dragging your feet. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, I've made up my mind. I'm going to jump. Here goes. Not quite the barrel roll they do in Remake. Mind if I go first? A leader always stays till the end. Don't worry about me. Just go. And don't go getting your spiky-headed ass hurt. This mission's just getting started. Looks like you all made it. Good going. Let's stay on track and stick to the plan. I've been thinking, what would y'all say to a little vacation? I'd love that. I mean, if you're offering. Yeah? Well then listen up. We're gonna need to lie low for a while once we pull this mission off. So how about I take you somewhere? Avalanche's birthplace, a holy land for folks like us who want to protect the planet. I'll take you to Cosmo Canyon. Woo! Will there be hot springs? Might be. You think I can wear these duds? Wouldn't mind making a habit of it. Yeah, don't see why not. They got good food over there. Where's the urgency? You bet your ass they do, and the best booze. It's a beautiful place, open sky as far as the eye can see, with stars everywhere, and you can hear the sound of a bonfire crackling in the distance. We can kick back and enjoy it all while we stuff our faces. What do you think? Sound like a plan? What about Cloud? Yeah, he'll come along too. But we got nothing left to pay him with. Don't sweat the details. If we don't have the money, I'll grab him by the neck and drag him there. Well, I'm off. Y'all take care of the rest. Seriously, how did they all end up in the same place down here? Tifa, jumped off the train an hour ago. All right, so far, so good. It feels like that scene in Stranger Things when they should be running up that hill to the portal, and they just have a podcast instead. But don't let your guard down till we reach Mako Reactor 5. Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse will be waiting up ahead. Let's move! This tunnel should take us straight to the reactor. Oh. These lasers are Shinra security sensors. Looks like this is the end of the line. Unless... That's one tiny ass hole. You saying we gotta squeeze under the plate through here? Give me a break. Yo, Cloud, what are we gonna do? Let me take a closer look. Doesn't look like there's anything to climb down on. You're right. Once we slide down, there's no coming back up. Come on, we ain't got time to dilly-dally. Those Shinra bastards could snoop us out any second. Just man up and go, Cloud. We're going down. Gotta say, that thing gives me the creeps. And we're so here, okay. Obtained an ether. Oh man, y'all, I remember seeing this scene in the original and just being like, wow. Look at these graphics. We shall not shilly-shally, nor shall we dilly-dally. There's Tifa! Check out that model, that's good. Took the enemy by surprise. Blizzard. Dilly-dally, shilly-shally. Dilly-dally, shilly-shally. Slumber spume. Go, Tiefs, get them. Okay. Dilly-dally, shilly-shilly. Tifa does look good. This is great. The expansion in the remake was crazy. And I guess this part is the equivalent of the sun lamps. I'm in the entire sun lamp section right now, I guess. Just come over here and open up the sun lamps over here. Oh, look, these guys we actually do fight in remake. The rocket launcher. That is crazy. This entire segment is an entire chapter. Like, this screen is an entire chapter in remake. That is wild. Hey, Wedgie. This way, Cloud. Maka Reactor 5's just up this ladder. What's up, Shiny? Nothing there. Let's do this. Now we're real fast. Oh, we're real fast. Get him, faster. Oh, it's so on like Donkey Kong. Look at us go. Do 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 do. Now we crawl. Do do. Hey, Jesse. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this. There we go. I am playing with the Shinra Arc translation mod. I'm sorry. That ID fiasco on the train was all my fault. I tried adding some special touches to your card. Clearly it didn't work. I thought I put my heart and soul into it, but all I did was mess everything up. Jesse, don't be mean to yourself. Let's be kind to ourselves. You didn't mean to. It's important to be kind. Get him! Get him! It's a great mod. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, now we're back. Hey, Big Z. We're gonna pull out now. Let's meet back up at the hideout. And Cloud, make sure you blow that reactor sky high. And the Advent Children mod, oh, that's sick. Oh, see you, Biggs, he's gone. Now again, everybody. Oh, don't do that. Hey, thank you, Matt M, for the sub. Appreciate you. Again, now we're in chapter, let's see, there was chapter 5 was the train, chapter 6 is the sun lamp, and now we're in chapter 7 of a remake. That's how fast this goes. That's insane. Whoa, thank you, Jeffrey. Things are happening over there. That's crazy. I don't know why we got that big old star there. Oh god, I'm just getting destroyed. Okay, get in there, get in there. And attack, and attack. One of the things that I love about this particular sequence, and it's similar to one of the essays that we read earlier tonight, is Avalanche does explore, like after the first Mako reactor bombing, they do it again. But then, like, it doesn't go according to plan, but this kind of shakes Avalanche out of its cycle of terrorism, right? I agree. It's not an inappropriate comment. I actually think that's a great insight that the devs are still alive and able to create a new experience. Yeah. La 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 la. And we run and we bounce. I don't know why I keep pressing that button. One thing that they do in the remake as well that I just want to kind of call out here, it's so interesting. Oh, that arrow was right in front of that. That's so annoying. But one thing I want to show here is that this blue Mako right here, this is very much in the remake as well, whereas the first one had a little bit more of a green aesthetic. This one has blue. Love that. Okay, what's going on? Got the Tifa flashback. Dad, it was Sephiroth, wasn't it? Good night, Smith. Thanks for being here tonight. He did this, didn't he? Sephiroth, soldiers, Mako, Shinra. I hate them. I hate them all. No, I agree, Brandon. It's not why they do it, but it is certainly kind of part of it. Oh, what's up? Warriors of Hype sent you here. I'm so glad. Welcome in. Hey, get a hold of yourself. Everything okay? Tifa. Huh? No, it's nothing. Come on, let's hurry. Wait. Barrett? I know. You're my escort, right? Damn straight. Just because you're an old friend of Tifa's doesn't mean I gotta trust you. Whoa, a raid? Thank you so much for the raid. Final Fantasy TV. Final Fan TV. Or Warriors of Hype TV, I think is what it's called now. Welcome in. Very much appreciate the raid. I think that my sound effects are turned off. But thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate you. I missed that. Get him. I need to give Barrett that, I need to give him a lightning all materia or something. Let's speed her up. Oh, it's on YouTube. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you. I'm locked in on the mod. All right, Teefs, what you got? All right, time to go. I would love an 8 remake, to be honest. I feel like that story is just so good. I love 8. I mean, I would love to see, I don't know, I don't feel like they can do 1 through 6 very well. But, you know, I would be open to anything. But I think 8 is the one that needs it the most. Oh, welcome in, Paul. Warriors of Hype sent you here. Well, thank you very much. Earlier tonight, we did a full essay showcase from the community, and it was quite enlightening. I would encourage you to watch the VOD if you haven't, if you weren't able to hop in earlier. Warriors of Hype Raid, what's up? Welcome in. How are our friends over at Warriors of Hype doing? They good? Okay, let's bounce up here. Make a quick save. Stefferoth, how you doing? Well, let me welcome everybody from Warriors of Hype really fast. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Professor Noctis. I teach at the University of Alabama, and I teach through video games, particularly Final Fantasy. So I am the Final Fantasy professor, I guess. But welcome in. So glad to have you. Hey, would love for you to do me a quick favor. Be sure to like and subscribe over on my channel if you like some of the things that we're doing. We're trying to talk about real life stuff through video games on this channel, specifically through Final Fantasy. And let me tell you, earlier tonight was probably one of the most interesting things that I think we've ever done. We did a Final Fantasy VII essay community showcase where members of the Final Fantasy fandom answered a prompt. And tonight we talked about is Avalanche's effort to bomb these reactors terrorism, or is it resistance? So yeah, it was a powerful night of discussion, and I would encourage you to do it. And we also announced our next essay for February. So anyway, that VOD is going to come out on YouTube tomorrow. Hope that you'll all take a moment to watch it. So thank you. And to Final Fan TV / Warriors of Hype, so grateful for them. Warriors of Hype sent you back to class. Welcome back, Spartan. I love it. Love those guys. Raiders of Hype, more like. We're going speed mode now. Let's go. We're playing the Shinra Arc mod. Shinra Archaeology cut of Final Fantasy VII, which is super neat. No, I said Sephiroth. Sephiroth is here. You were here for the essays. I remember you contributed an essay, Spartan. It was a great essay. Before the end of the stream tonight, I'll show the next essay topic for next month. Warriors of Hype, love you too, brother. Welcome in. Thanks, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a great stream. Kind of one of those streams that's like, you just like, I mean, wow. Streams tonight, like the one we've had tonight, are why I like streaming. Just because it feels like we're adding something nobody else is. Anybody can do playthroughs and stuff, and people can certainly do that way better than me. But to bring classroom sensibilities to this, that's like just really neat and fun. I feel like I'm doing something unique and different. So thank you for being about that. What's up, Lee? Dragoon King. How we doing, bro? Great to see you, my friend. Oh, we're about to do the button press. Boy, they didn't take that from the, they didn't omit that from the original, did they? Jesse said we all have to push our buttons at the same time. Thank you, Excalibro. Have a great night. Oh, I've totally missed. No good. Let's try it again. Oh, this is going to be a disaster. No good. Let's try it again. I'm so good at this. Yeah, thank you for sending everybody over. Really appreciate you. Okay, I guess we're going to save again because we're about to airbuster it. The fact that we have to do that button thing in Remake is just so funny to me. It just kills me. Alright, here we go. Best fight. They did make the button press harder. This way! Huh? Shinra troopers. You put me on TV, I'm gonna drop some truth. Shit, what the hell's going on? Keep failing until Tifa kills you. A trap. Oh. You got a question about my opinion on Final Fantasy IX. Thank you, Amy. I would like a Final Fantasy IX remake. Final Fantasy IX is not necessarily my favorite Final Fantasy. I don't love the protagonist, Zidane. I love Vivi. Steiner's pretty fun. But I don't super love that game, to be perfectly honest. I want a remake of it. Now, I say that, I have the Zidane statue as well, so like, it would be a mid-level Final Fantasy for me. Why is the president here? So you must be, what were you called again? Avalanche, and don't you forget it. So you're President Shinra, huh? Long time no see, President. Long time no see. Ah, so you're the one I've been hearing about. The ex-soldier working with Avalanche. Your eyes certainly have the glow. The mark of one who is bathed in Mako. Tell me, traitor, what was your name? Cloud. Now, Beatrix is cool. I like that one. You'll have to forgive me. I can't be expected to remember every soldier's name unless that soldier were to become as formidable as Sephiroth. Yes, Sephiroth. He was a magnificent soldier, perhaps too magnificent. Sephiroth? We don't give a damn about none of that. Real soon, this place will be up in flames. Serves y'all right. Ooh, I haven't played the Maguri Wrong mod. What meaning did I take away from Final Fantasy IX? I think that there is power in community, and the cure for kind of a nihilistic, meaningless existence is kind of community and love. Find a reason worth living for and fighting for. That's what I would take. Indeed, though what a pity to waste good fireworks getting rid of maggots like you. Maggots? That all you gotta say? I'll tell you who the maggots are. It's you evil assholes at Shinra, feeding on the planet till it's all but dead, which makes you their queen. So how dare you stand there pretending you're better than us? I grow weary of this conversation. I'm a very busy man, you know, so if you'll pardon me, I have a business dinner I must attend tonight. Now, Final Fantasy VIII's music is so good. Business dinner? You gotta be kidding me. I ain't even got started with you. Oh, fret not. I've arranged a playmate for you all. I love the lore with the airbuster, though. Oh, what's that noise? Well, what the hell is that thing? Say hello to the Airbuster, a mobile mech prototype created by our very own Research and Development Division. I'm sure the combat data he extracts while killing you will make a valuable resource for future projects. Mobile mech? Now then, if you'll excuse me. President, wait. Yeah, fastest the one. If he was present, you feel like Barrett would just shoot him, right? But the fact that he's a hologram, it makes a lot of sense. Yo, Cloud, we got to deal with this guy first. Relatable chimp. Cloud, help! Is this thing a soldier? Of course not, it's just a machine. Well, whatever it is, I'm gonna smash it to bits. Banger song, let's go. Counterattack? Protocol 1 initiated. Bow, 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 bow. This is my favorite workout song, y'all. Oh no, I'm about to die. Ooh. Heal him. No, 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 no. No, he's so good at the counterattacks. Look at that model, it's so good. Boing, boing. Oh, we got him. We're so good at this game. Yeah, it doesn't. Oh! Tifa! We don't have long to get clear. Let's go, Tifa. Barrett, can't we do something? Not a damn thing. Cloud, you stay alive. Don't you dare die. There's still so much I need to tell you. I hear you, Tifa. Yo, you gonna be all right? This might be it for me. This might be it for me. I'm gonna say it. Damn, I can't hold on much longer. Hurry, Barrett. Don't sound so pathetic. There ain't nothing we can do for you. You're on your own with this one, said a true friend. Barrett. All right, we'll see you later then. Cloud! Tifa! Hey, buddy. You okay? Yeah. Made it through with a couple scraped knees back then. Back then? What do you say? We doing this? What do you mean by back then? Have we... Never mind about that. Right now, you need to focus on yourself. Move something. Anything. Why not? Oh, he moved. Good. Easy does it. Slow and steady. Hello? Yeah. Hey, who are you? Hello in there. Check her out. Ah, Brandon. I see you. All in one piece? We're in an old church in the Sector 5 slums. You came crashing through the roof without so much as a look out below. I fell down here? Through the roof and right into my flower bed. Lucky for you. Like, really. Your flower bed? So sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't worry about it. They're a lot tougher than they look. This place, it has a kind of power. Plants just about never grow in Midgar, but for some reason, flowers have no trouble blooming here. I love this place. So we meet again. That's right, we did meet. Sure, I remember. You're the slum drunk. Well, aren't you rude? But you did buy a flower from me, so I won't hold it against you. Oh, you've got some materia, huh? I've got one too. You and everybody and their mother. Not like mine, though. It's special. Mine's not good for anything at all. I bet you just don't know how to use it. No, it's not that, but I don't mind it being useless. Just having it is enough. It was a gift from my mother. Say, I'm feeling chatty. How about you? After all, what are the odds of us meeting again like this? May as well take advantage of it. Sure, I don't mind, slum drunk. Okay, then wait here a minute. I just need to finish tending the flowers. Okay, girly. Nearly done. Oh. Come to think of it, we still don't know each other's names, do we? Mine's Aerith. Not Eris. Uh-oh, did the stream stop? Oh no, it always does that. Oh no. Just meanness. The name's Cloud. I do mercenary work. Mercenary. I do whatever needs doing. What's so funny? Why are you laughing? Sorry, it's just... Huh? Ugh, now of all times. Cloud, just ignore him. Okay. Say, Cloud, you ever worked as a bodyguard? Seriously? You did say you do whatever needs doing, right? Yep, it's just sitting on the back of her head in the hair bow. Well, yeah. Then get me out of here. You'll be my escort home. Happy to oblige, but it'll cost you a lot. A lot, huh? One day it ought to do it. I don't know who you are or where you came from, but that's what Lulu says to Titus. I don't know who you are or where you came from. But sure, you know him. Wait, that's right, I do know you. That uniform. Yo, Flower Girl, I think your friend's got a screw loose. Shut up, Shinra lapdog. Reno, sir, we gonna take him out? Haven't decided yet. No, stop it, Cloud. Don't fight in here, you'll trample all the flowers. Cloud, this way. Bye. We can get out through the back with the whispers. You see that guy's eyes? Not the flowers. They were Mako eyes. Well, makes no difference. Back to work, boys. Oh. Make sure you don't step on the flowers. But sir, you just did their squash. You're gonna catch holy hell. Found them, they're over there. Ah, man. We'll get there at some point this year. We have talked about it a little bit, but yeah. I know, seems like they aren't giving up. Gonna give up. What do we do? Well, we can't let them catch us, can we? That leaves only one choice. Come on, this way. I can't jump. Don't worry, I'll catch you. All right, you better not drop me. The Ancient's getting away. Shoot, wait, stop. Ah. Aerith. Shit, she's still alive? Shouldn't have resisted. Cloud, help. Shit. Wait, what are those? What are those? Just sit tight a minute. This one. Pushing it over might do something. Maybe? Oh! Cloud, what are you doing? Trying to kill Aerith, apparently. Go, Aerith, go! Good job, Aerith. She's so strong compared to these soldiers. Ah! Cloud, help! Just sit tight. Excuse me. Thanks, Cloud. Let's run over here now. Go, Aerith, go! Cloud, help! I think this is the one. Just sit tight a moment. You're gonna have to fight. No, just sit tight. Push it. Got him. Thanks, Cloud. Come on, girl. I'll catch you. Gotcha. Aerith, this way. They really prolonged this part of the game in Remake. Like this rooftop part. It's not bad, though. Looks like they're after me again. You mean this isn't the first time they've attacked you? Well, no. Those guys were with the Turks. The Turks are a Shinra organization. Their job is to find and recruit potential soldiers. Pretty violent way to go about it. That felt more like a kidnapping. They also take care of dirty work on the side. Spying, assassinations, shady stuff like that. I got that impression. But why are they after you? There must be some reason. Beats me. Oh, maybe they think that I have what it takes to be a soldier. Maybe you do. Want to join? Not sure, but I do know I don't want to get caught by those guys. Then let's get going. So petty. Wait, give me a moment. Boink, boink, boink. Oh, the fact that he fell in the same place as Zach, I think that may be elaborated on in part 3. Don't just run off on your own. Funny. Those the words of a soldier candidate? So petty. Oh, that's like identical to Remake right there. Hey, Cloud, you wouldn't happen to be a soldier, would you? An ex-soldier, how'd you guess? Your eyes, they've got that strange glow. Oh, right. It's because of the Mako. All soldiers have them. But how do you know about that? Oh, well, nothing. Come on, bodyguard. Let's keep moving. I don't know if there's female soldiers. I can't think of any. Ooh, feels good to be back on the ground. Now then. My house is over this way. Let's hurry before they catch up. All right, chat. And friends, that is going to do it for our stream tonight. Because we had a big stream tonight, everybody. It was a big one. So, my friends, tonight, thank you for being here with all of this, this essay reading and all that stuff. It's been a really, really cool evening for us, and I just really appreciate everybody being a part. So we will pick back up on Thursday with some more Remake, trying to get to the part where we meet Aerith, which means we've got chapter 5, 6, and 7. Wow. Which will be a lot of fun. In the meantime, let me remind you of our essay for the month of February. Let me just show you that really quickly. Boom, not that one, not that one. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, there it is. Up, there I go. This is our essay for February. I hope that you will join us in writing something great for this. Remember, it is not just about ships and things like that, but it's about your favorite relationships. To be here, everybody. I'm sorry that you don't get to see me anymore, but apparently the whispers took me. So with that, my friends, I hope that you have a terrific evening, and we will see you on Thursday. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks for being here. Take care.